Hello.
3, 2, 1, recording. Fastest recording in the West.
Okay, well, do I sound okay? Because I'm doing a different thing with the microphones.
Little echoey, little reflectiony.
Yeah, this is the phones
It's
that are
it's fine. I
connected.
mean, it'll work. It's fine.
Yeah, I figured I would try that this time.
Little reflectiony, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, because I have a crap acoustic environment.
Roger, watch your fucking language. My God.
I know Google might censor me or something.
Well, oh, what a great segue into starting the show. Roger Williams, author of my favorite book, Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect. Grab that while you can because shit, I mean, it might be banned one day because so yesterday, and this is not what the topic of this podcast will be for everyone watching or listening, but 2 days ago, Project Veritas was banned from Twitter for exposing a video from about Facebook shadow banning, and they got banned from Twitter for showing that, and then YouTube deleted their video showing that they got banned from Twitter for showing a video about it's this entire gangbang clusterfuck of big tech censorship. So I did a video about that yesterday, talked about how it's really not good for anybody, and how like my moderate Democrat friend, my moderate liberal friends like Roger, like Ernie, like Rob, how after all of the goose stepping Nazis like myself are eradicated by the just technocratic gods that look upon us peons, the new far right will be you guys. So hopefully, maybe we can share a bunk in a Northern Territory gulag, building ore and I don't know. Point is Roger commented on the video, which is it was episode 350. Fair, just, balanced comment. Basically, along the lines of this is what Tommy and I kind of reach across the aisle and agree on, and the importance of it and why it's wrong. It was a great comment, and I saw it on my little YouTube Studio app, and I gave it the old Hardaruski and went and looked back at my personal YouTube, which is it's an account I've had forever, and I went and looked at the channel because I'm a loser. I go and like my own videos. But I went and looked, and I was just scrolling through the comments, and I was like,
There
oh,
is a
I don't know. I was like, I thought Roger maybe commented that on something else because I don't really look at what videos the comments are on because they just pop up. So someone can be like, "Fuck you, you're wrong," and I'll just heart it, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I don't even know when it is. It maybe from a year ago." The point of this whole rambling psychosis is, I noticed Roger's very fair and balanced comment about the bipartisan importance of censorship was censored, and he was shadow banned, and I didn't realize that. In a sense, I was shadow banned because I saw it, so I figured it went through. So,
I was wondering how you found out about it.
well, I went to a different, which makes me now wonder because shadow banning is when the person that posts it thinks it's up and
Yeah.
no one else knows.
Oh, I was a member of the site that invented
Yeah,
shadow ban.
yeah. Well, the thing is I think that this is a new form, at least to me. I'm unaware of that now. The person that runs the channel, so let's say Roger says, "Tom, did my comment come up?" I go and check, and I go, "Yeah." I checked from a third account, nowhere to be seen. So I went and I found a way to kind of fight shadow banning. If I if I pin the post, pin the comment, sticky it yanks it out of the waters. it's like it's like Saruman pulling an orc out of the mud. I find that I can rip a PC wrong think comment out of the murky waters of Shadowban and into the light. And I texted Roger and I was like, "Hey, your comment about censorship was censored."
Yeah, I was sitting in the car this morning reading this and going, "You got to be fucking kidding me."
Some beautiful irony, perhaps a red pill for us all. Is when my friends are like, "Tommy, you're right. Maybe we can reach across the aisle." And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, your account was banned for wrong think." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Welcome to the show. You're now a Nazi. You can get your complimentary Eagles pin." But I have now been talking nonstop for 4 minutes and 29 seconds. So Roger,
Oh,
what's up, my
well,
friend?
when I read that comment from you, that got me thinking. And of course, there's a huge difference in how the web works today versus how it worked in, say, 2002
Sure.
when I published my novel. And the thing is, I can't think of a better way to illustrate it than to talk about two political discussion boards.
Okay.
Democratic Underground on the left,
Okay.
and Free Republic on the right.
Sure.
They consider themselves kind of rivals. And if you create an account on either of those boards and you talk too nicely about the other guys or criticize their guys too harshly, you know what's going to happen. Okay. Yeah, it's like no one is shy about it. But the thing is, you also know it up front when you sign up for your account. They tell you this is the purpose of this site. Okay. More and better Democrats. Get, we are Republican boosters, whatever. Okay.
Sure.
So you know who the people behind the platform, what their motive is.
Yeah.
And the thing is now with entities like Facebook and the not quite soup people that run a certain group of sites that might or might not be hosting this video, is they tend to feed you things that correspond to what you've wanted in the past. So if you're on their site, you might get the impression that you're on a similar thing like DU or Free Republic, where you're talking to people who agree with you. But what you don't get is what is the motive of the site itself, the platform. Because the motive of Democratic Underground is to elect Democrats. The motive of Free Republic is to elect Republicans. They're not shy about it. That is their motive. But what is the motive of Facebook? Actually, if we are, look, they lean politically right, but they shy very much away from that in day-to-day operations because they want those cool Democrat. They want those Democrat dollars too. What they want is to make money. They want to target ads at you. And what happens then is like, now say on each of these sites, somebody leaves a post referring to Tibet as an actual country that has an independent existence. Okay. Now, a site, either of those sites, they may have 100,000 users. Okay. Half of, at least half of whom are dormant, but say we're very generous and say they each have 500,000. They're American based. Their users are American. If they have any people reading them in China, it's like you could fit them all in this room behind me. And it's unlikely the Chinese government would even notice that.
Yeah.
But on Facebook, you've got two groups, whatever they fucking call it on Facebook. Okay, you've got the lefty group that all sees lefty news and thinks of itself like Democratic Underground. You've got the righty group that all sees the same news and thinks of themselves like Free Republic. And those posts are left. The Chinese government is very interested in Facebook. It's very likely they have robots reading every post posted to Facebook. That's not a technically difficult thing to do nowadays.
It's really not. No, that is possible.
And so they see this thing, Tibet. Okay. Even though it's posted by Americans in America, directed at other Americans, the Chinese government calls up the Facebook people and says, you have this post that refers to a rogue state as if it was a real country. You need to do something about this if you want to do business in our country. And because
Chinese market, baby.
And because Facebook really wants that billion users,
Facebook's really putting its legs up in the air.
They have an incentive to actually do something about it. And I suspect, after you told me that my comment had been shadow banned, I went and looked back at it and realized that there is about 5 flags in there that in combination, the robot probably just went poof.
So I have found, and because as much as I would like to paint myself as a martyr, and I'm like, oh, they've taken me down from my conservative views. I found a lot of it is just just swearing, which I'm not for, that you can't swear. But okay, I mean that's a pretty across the board. Sorry, I'm really fucking with my microphone today. Is is But I get it, because that's a pretty across the board, right? They just maybe want to have less of the word fuck or sex or whatever. I get that, but
there wasn't any of that in
no,
my post.
no, and that's the thing.
No. But there was mention of a certain company being leaned on by the threat of their on-site employees in another country being imprisoned.
Insects.
And it was actually the company that had their employees threatened with imprisonment was a certain company that is not a type of soup that might or might not be hosting this video channel in India.
Wait, hold on. Wait, don't spoil this for me. Can I just read your comment?
Sure.
Do you care? Well, I mean, I guess it's out in the public now. You've been painted as a far right fascist, Roger.
I mean, if you want to, I'll read it.
I'll read it. Damn it! It's
all right.
I will. Just know
I would be honored.
Just know that you are now a right wing fascist. I'll send you your honorary MAGA hat.
Well, I've been that since the 80s.
Yeah, I'll send you your honorary MAGA hat, and you'll retroactively be charged with storming the Capitol. And I've always agreed with you about the evils of censorship. Back in the 2000s, when I published Mopey, Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect, and most of my other stuff, there were a myriad of discussion and sharing sites with varying and well-known biases hosted by an equally diverse variety of network service providers. But because of that variety, none of them could shut a person completely down. The rise of Facebook, Google, and Amazon as the clearinghouses through which we get everything is very dangerous because it makes the whole country a company town. And in the end, what these companies protect isn't either freedom or fascism, it's their ability to stay in business and make more money. Lately, governments have begun to learn that they can lean on a few entities like Facebook, which are powerful, but not as powerful as a government, and make them bend over, in some cases by threatening their on-site employees with jail. And while I consider myself left-leaning, the far left is even worse than the far right about this. I remember the feminist anti-sex crusade of the 1980s, which created an absolutely bizarre and horrific alliance with the far-right religious whack jobs. I have a bad feeling that something like this is happening again because a lot of the publishers of more transgressive content have been purging their accounts or just getting banned, and it's not exactly clear why. We may have reached a point where it doesn't take a national security letter as it did to shut down Insects, a company, by targeting its credit card processors. It's now a tight little clique, which knows who owes who and what just does what they think has to be done because when all the players can get together in one living room to hash it out, agreements don't have to be formal or involve due process. See you tomorrow. Hail Hitler. Well, that was a weird ending. No, not the end. hopefully see you tomorrow. Sig Heil Trump 2024. Huh. But no, but you're very, very right, Roger. It's like when you're right, when you get that, I was just talking about it with a friend today, the Black Chamber, which is the predecessor to the NSA. It was a thing that lasted for 4 years between 1915 and 1919, and it was basically we went to like big telegram, big postcard, and like all the big companies, and we're like, hey, we need to intercept everything because World War One, and they went in it, but it was the heads of a couple companies, and like 5 people knew, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was also when we had the Alien and Sedition Act, mm-hmm. and people were put in jail for just criticizing the military draft.
Jesus.
First Amendment much? Nope, not then. So that, in fact, the famous quote about shouting fire in a crowded theater was about criticizing the military draft during World War One. That and the justice, whose name flies out of my head as usual, who has said recanted it. He said that in retrospect that it was a bad analogy and he shouldn't have used it, because the idea was that by criticizing the military draft, you were jeopardizing the United States Armed Forces during a military conflict, and that was like shouting fire in a crowded theater.
I could maybe see that stretch in the midst of a world war. Maybe, I mean, it's you're stretching. You're stretching. You're putting it between two fucking bulldozers and pulling.
Well, and especially since no one knew why the hell anyone was fighting World War One, including the people who started it. It's not like World War II, where okay, we were attacked, so there was actually a reason to be fighting it. No one knew why anyone was fighting anyone else in World War One. They're still arguing about that today.
Yeah,
It was like you had all these interlocking treaties and shit, and it just was like it was this powder keg primed to go off as soon as somebody got their handkerchief woven in their face or something.
It was
like it just expanded from there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like I remember the 1980s, and you had, of course, you had the moral majority, the right wing, religious, excuse the term, nut jobs.
Yeah.
Who basically hated sex. And in the middle of, while that was ascendant because it was the age of Reagan, then you had this group come in from the far left that, of feminists who thought that basically looking at porn was equivalent to rape. And that sounds oversimplified, but no, it's not. That's basically what they thought. And they engaged in a years-long campaign to get laws passed against pornography and against they were it's hard, it's almost hard to describe. They were also sneaky. They did something other groups are doing now, which is they targeted local politics, where they could sneak in ordinances under the radar when no one noticed them, because no one pays any attention to municipal politics, right? And make it impossible for adult bookshops to continue to operate, and interfere with the mail delivery of things and stuff like that. And they basically they teamed up with the far right religious guys. And this was like, though they had nothing in common, but they except that they hated sex. And of course they denied that they hated sex all over the place. The whole thing finally petered out. On the left, it was started by Catherine McKinnon and Andrea Dworkin, and it really finally sputtered out after Dworkin published her novel Ice and Fire, which was full of sadomasochistic imagery, and everyone was just like, okay. And then she published Intercourse, which was a diatribe that basically argued that sexual intercourse itself was oppressive to women.
Do you think that what would solve this is if we got the far right and the far left to take some ecstasy and have an orgy?
I think they would both have aneurysms and just like drop dead.
Well, either way, the end goal is the abandonment of those crazy people.
Yeah, I know your advocacy of X as possibly a solution to all of this. I don't know. I mean, these people were crazy. They're crazy. The people on the right were crazy. The people on the left were crazy. Yeah. They were just knucking futs.
Yeah.
And
I think with people like that, there's got to be there's something deeper than no.
Oh, there was very definitely something wrong with it. It's like, I don't know what I don't. Actually, I was raised Southern Baptist, so I have some idea what was wrong with those people.
Sure.
But what's wrong with people like Dworkin and McKinnon? Catherine McKinnon was a lawyer, and she had this slideshow that she would go around to all these cities with, and it was infamous because of the way it mixed up imagery from horror movies and crime scenes and all, and depicted it all as being BDSM pornography, and which was, even she had to know it was a lie. You couldn't assemble that without knowing it was a bunch of horse shit. But for some reason, they thought that this was a worthwhile endeavor. And when after Dworkin wrote Ice and Fire, then there was a lot of thing, and uh, and I think it was McKinnon who basically said, "Well, we, the responsible feminist scholars, can have access to this material because we're responsible feminist scholars, but we can't let men have access to it because they're a bunch of uncontrollable animals who,
They're a bunch of
you don't know what they're
pigs.
going to do." And it's like and it took until the mid 90s for the whole thing to finally become so discredited that it sort of like slunk out of it. It never completely went away. I think McKinnon is still out there doing it, but you know but they had a lot of currency in the day because the far right, and of course the right was in ascendancy during the 80s. That was the years of Reagan and Bush 1. And so they had a power, and these guys were from the left, and so they were going, "Oh, bipartisanship, we got something we can agree on." And it's like, yeah, we're gonna censor
I mean,
anything that has a dick in it.
it's almost the joke is almost hacky. That's like the one thing the government can come together and reach across the aisle on is nobody gets to have intercourse. Like it's
Yeah.
almost hacky, like that they're so evil. But it's
Well, I think what the final stake in the heart of the whole thing, I think, was Dworkin publishing Intercourse, and the whole idea that sexual intercourse itself is oppression against women, because everyone thought that was stupid.
yeah.
It was like, they finally reached the point where they broke the suspension of disbelief
Yeah.
or whatever it was that made it possible for so many people to think that this thing was serious. And so that whole thing was pretty much over by the early 90s. And if it hadn't been, then what would have killed it, in fact, what may have killed the last vestiges of it that we're trying to stir, was the internet. Because then all of those methods of controlling the nasty porn that you were trying to implement became moot, because all of your people in your city that can't go to the bookstore anymore can just go online.
In 2016 and 17, I tried to make my own Onion News Network. I called it FNN, Fuck It News Network. If you can't tell, I was at a low point in my life. It was
It's
just
a hard time to be doing satire.
yeah, especially in 2016 and 17. And the motto of my company was, "We all die alone in a nursing home. You might as well have a chuckle before you flatline." I was not in a happy place, and in hindsight, I can see my writings were places to just vent rage at the world. But one of the things I wrote, and I was like, and now I don't think it's that odd of a potential article. And it was Wienermobile arrested after a cross-country, multi-decade-long spree of raping tunnels. Says no, he's arrested because he got drunk and crashed into a garage, and it was rape. And then there was a warrant out for his arrest. They're like, "You've raped tunnels in every state for the last 50 years." There's something
That,
along those lines.
yeah,
I don't think that's
that
that far off.
it isn't. That's and the thing is, when the DOJ shut insects down, by accusing them of being terrorists. Now, let's face it, some of the imagery that they created was really fucked up, but they conform to all of the guidelines as far
That's
as
freedom of speech.
documenting that they had consent from their models and everybody knew what they were getting into and all. And basically they just, you know, you want to talk about rape, they raped the Patriot Act. They basically took the Patriot Act, which we had been promised when everyone warned us how dangerous this thing was, and they swore up and down on a stack of Bibles that it would never, ever, ever be used against anything but the absolute worst of the bad guys. And they used it a bunch of people creating porn. And that led, you know, as we saw in my little history of porn that we did, 100 or 200 episodes ago.
Jesus, yeah.
You know, but you know that led to the modern thing. But there's something going on right now, because things like Google censoring that comment that I put up is not the sort of thing I think they would have done even 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, that there, but and I've noticed, I've heard people telling in other venues about comments disappearing and accounts being purged and users being just purged and disabled and all. And again, you know, you've only got a few companies like this that their interests are international now. So what are our protections as Americans in our Constitution to these companies that want to get into the Chinese or Indian market? If the Chinese or Indian government come to them and say, you hosted this comment that we do not like, that you need to do something about this, or
You need to do something now, Ching Ching Chong.
yeah. So
That was an accurate representation. Oh, you know the big World War II propaganda cartoons of Japanese people.
yeah, the teeth and
Yeah,
everything.
they're like,
Yeah.
oh, Uncle Sam. You're just like, Jesus. Every American is a square jawed guy with great pecs. But yeah, no,
Of course we are, right?
yeah, of course we are. But yeah, no, it's you have to. Yeah, what is the trade off, right? That you get to
And
operate within the borders of the United States with the infrastructure behind the safety net of a first world nation. Yeah, sure, you can prod fun at that all you want, but safer than the vast majority of places in the world. Do you get to sit here and have speech here limited because of a foreign nation, perhaps over something arbitrary like a woman showing her midriff, or perhaps over the recognition of Taiwan
yeah.
or Tibet?
And that yeah, and that gets us back to the thing that I was talking about at the beginning. If you take actual independent websites like Democratic Underground or Free Republic, they're not threatened by anything like this. There's nothing the government of China could do, even if they cared, because they're in America, their clientele is American. Even if the Great Firewall of China decided to block them, that would like barely scrape their standard of living. It's like, well, okay, cool. You can't get to us in China anymore without a firewall, you know, without a VPN or something. But Facebook or Google takes that very seriously, because they want that billion people in China. They want that billion people in India to be their customers. And they want to be able to target ads at them. And when those governments come to them and say, you can't be admitting that, you can't be claiming that this rogue state is an actual country, then they have, if not an inclination, definitely they have a motive to take that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Which the smaller websites that were the entire, you know, in 2002, the smaller websites, those were the whole thing. There were dozens of others. You know, if you wanted to talk about crocheting or model railroad or amateur radio or or space or anything, then those would all be separate websites. They all had their own thither and thon and their own community standards and everything. And if you pissed them off, then you were kicked off. But on the other hand, you could go to the next one down. But nowadays, we take it for granted that all of those interest groups are groups on Facebook
or Reddit.
or Reddit or
Yeah.
yeah. Now, I will say, to their credit, Reddit was very late to the party as far as bending the knee. That was like a primary
It
thing
was
with them.
it was good for a while. Yeah, give credit where
But
credit's due.
but the problem is because they're so big, they're a big target.
They took $300 million from Tencent, which is owned by the CCP.
Yeah.
That whole part.
So eventually, though, they were got to, as it were, and you had to deal with it. So this is the problem: is that where before we had dozens and dozens of entities that all had their little rules and shit. Now we've got a few major players that are hosting these groups that used to be their own independent entities, but now they're not their own independent entities anymore because they're a Facebook group or they're a subreddit or a YouTube channel or whatever. And if the overarching, and none of them are really aware as they were. It's like, yeah, if you join Democratic Underground, when you create your profile, when you create your account, they let you know we have rules here. Here's the link. You can't criticize Democratic candidates.
Yeah.
You can't trash other users. It's like they list them out very carefully.
Yeah.
And
I would often get shit on for on Reddit before it was banned, the Donald, which, I mean, take a wild guess. Was it about Trump? However, as much as, because I was banned from there, just full disclosure, I was banned from, before I was banned from Reddit, I was banned from the Donald. But on the sidebar on the Donald, what I did at the very least appreciate was the number one rule: Trump supporters only.
Yeah. They let you know what their bias is.
When I would get kicked out of our politics, they would, and I would complain to the mods, they would say, well, we see you're active on R the Donald and you don't care. I say, they openly tell you that it's an echo chamber for Trump. You guys aren't saying R Biden. It says our politics.
Yeah.
That was my qualm.
Yeah. And the bigger problem, though, is that our politics and the Donald are both part of the same platform whose motives you don't know, which are not stated. And when they come and say, and you don't even friggin' know why, it's like, what, and it's because the government of China said you can't say things about Thailand. It's like, where the fuck that come from?
Yeah.
But they don't even tell you that.
No, you're just gone. You're violating terms of service. Sorry, gone.
And you're not gone just from that group with a bias whose bias you knew you were violating. You're gone from the entire ecosystem.
I still can't. I cannot. I told you I had all of my accounts banned. I waited 6 months and I started a new account last week. I can't comment on any subreddit. Oh, actually, sorry, they let me comment, but they're all shadow banned. I commented on like R sharks. I uploaded the video of the guy that I interviewed that swam with sharks. There's like 200 people in that subreddit. It's about sharks.
Yeah.
Shadow banned.
Well, I know that I'm not globally shadow banned on YouTube because I comment occasionally on other things about like entertainment and stuff, but I might have to like.
You need to make an alternative account and you got to go check up.
Yeah. Well, no, because I've gotten responses.
Yeah,
so that wouldn't happen if they were banning all of my stuff.
Correct.
So
you do have to go check now. You do have to go check on things you don't get response, because it's a head fuck. Now you just don't know. Did I just make a boring comment and no one responded, or did it get shadow banned?
Yeah, I mean that's like, yeah, you're right. I mean that's
you have to go check everything, because now when I post shit, now I'm like, did I get shadow banned, or was it just legitimately a shitty episode that I put out? And I'll go look at it and it won't be shadow banned. I'll be like, oh, that was, nobody liked it, but I'm okay with that. I'm like, okay. But you have to go check everything now. You don't know, are you shadow banned or did you just suck?
Yeah, it's very insidious. Um,
Oh,
so that's where we are now. And the there's a person named Pat Califia, who is one of my favorite really, really, really transgressive authors. She started out as a lesbian uh, dominant sadist, and she published some really whacked stories, but she also published some really good nonfiction. Her very first entry into public life was an article titled "A Secret Side of Lesbian Sexuality," which was published in The Advocate, which is the magazine for gay people. And the very first line was, "I am a sadist." And it's like, okay, that was like a little jolt of caffeine. She lost.
sadist is sorry for my own retard. Sadist is inflict pain on others, correct? For pleasure.
Yes.
Okay, masochist is self.
Yes. Well, yeah, the opposite is a masochist, someone who wants pain inflicted on them for sexual gratification.
Okay, all right. Sorry, go on.
So she published this article about what drives her and how her sexuality worked and how she hooked up, and it was fascinating. She lost her job over it, but she went on to publish a couple of books and a couple of and quite a few articles here and there, until I think it was in the mid or late 90s, she realized that she was actually transsexual, and she had a sex change operation and realized she was actually a gay man in a woman's body. And so he, at this point, wrote this article saying, sexuality can be really complicated.
It's like, man, that'd be like me transferring to a woman and then saying I'm a lesbian. I'd be like, dude, you're just trying to hook up with girls that you couldn't hook up with.
Yeah, I remember very memorably. She had back when she was but when she was still Pat, that when a gay man and a gay woman have sex, it's not like heterosexual sex. Now, haven't been there, can't do that, but all right, interesting.
Does she mean like physiological? Because no, physiologically it is.
It was, well, I think she meant that psychologically,
Okay, well,
the interaction was not the same that it would be.
I would imagine. I imagine psychologically it's already a wild west up there, but
Yeah,
just
but anyway, she wrote a story in the late 80s called "Oh Happy Day," set in a dystopian future where where the radical feminists had won, and the protagonist was a gay man incarcerated in a concentration camp with, and it was other gay men helping to do the chores of the camp as people were being brought in to be euthanized or whatever. And they it it was savage about the left-wing feminists of her day, because she hated them even more than either of us ever. uh, um, and of course, in the end, everyone died. So it's like, yeah.
what always happens.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I remember in that story, the protagonist had been a medical student, and she realizes what her kink is because she's getting sexually excited as she looks through the plates of the anatomy textbook, which is like, okay,
Okay, so she's slowly discovering that.
we're deep into but again, it's that kind of thing though. It's like that is a glimpse into the mind of someone who is so different that you couldn't imagine it if you wanted to. It can only be revealed firsthand.
through experience.
And yeah, and that is what the are trying to take from us, is that experience of finding out
Ah,
how diverse the world
everybody
is.
is okay.
And it's like this is a way to be. And this person impressed me with her eloquence, or his eloquence, depending upon when in its life you're talking about. And
Sure.
uh, but I think the world would be a much poorer place if Patrick Califia had never lived. But that's what these assholes want, is for voices like that to never have a say, to never reach their ears or the ears of their precious children or whatever it is they're worried about. And you know, I
I
just
mean, I mean, if we learned in Vietnam that you can't carpet bomb an ideology, if you can't
yeah,
carpet bomb it through, what was it, Operation Rolling Thunder, Operation Linebacker. I mean, the millions of tons of bombs we dropped from B-52s, we couldn't bomb an ideology out. What the hell
no,
makes you think that some blue check marks shadow banning you is going to stop it? Like,
no. When I published Mopey, I actually put an age warning on it, and all kinds of paranoid shit. It's like, be careful, blah, blah,
it's
blah.
intense. That's why it's my favorite book. Is it's intense,
Yeah, well, when I wrote it, my mood was no fucks left to give. It was,
which is why it's my favorite book. There's nothing held back.
and, but every once in a while, it's like I got an email about 10 years ago from a guy, said, it's like, I read your book when I was 14. It's right there. It's like, oh,
It's like,
shit. Okay. And because of that, I am now in one of the most prestigious artificial intelligence graduate programs in the country. And I just wanted to say thanks. And I'm like, part of me is like, wow, and part of me is horrified, because it's like I didn't mean to reach out and like grab this young person and pull them
I'm
into a
taking I'm
different
taking
life.
I'm taking that clip right there. When Mopey blows up and you become the next fucking J.K. Rowling, I'm just clipped right there. I didn't mean to young out and grab this young person. Ching, cut and paste. Here's your MAGA hat. Join the right side, Roger. You're a Nazi now. Sorry, but yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to tell a story. It's like, but one person's story is another person's life-changing experience,
Yeah.
and you can't have a world without those life-changing experiences if you want to also have stories.
Yeah.
I mean, every halfway decent movie ever made has also got its share of people who will say, oh, it changed my life. I walked out of the theater and saw the world in a completely different way. Yeah, it's like you can't do that kind of thing without the risk of having that effect. It's just not possible.
It's like not everyone will like it, and like that's fine. But there's
Or people will like it in ways that you completely didn't anticipate.
Yeah. Well, what really strikes me more than anything, aside from like the general hatred of censorship and like a lack of freedom, is the control. Like, maybe we're wired different. I don't mean you and me and the censors. Like, I don't want control over anyone. I want to be me and do me and you do you. Hey, man, more power to you. Peace. The control to me is the oddest, sickest, saddest, most pathetic thing.
And you're 100% right about that. I think that is a major guiding principle for a lot of these people, is control over other people, over their environment. And their environment includes other people. That means they have to control other people. Um, there's a guy who's, again, the name thing. It'll hit me, but the
Heinrich Himmler.
Prominent critic of technology, and but
Uh,
he wrote a book called Time Wars.
Ted
And there's a
Kaczynski.
no. But there's a chapter in there about the Mall of America and about Disney World, particularly Disney,
Bill
and
Hicks.
about how the thing about Disney, the Disney World, is about everything about the environment there is about control. They got into a serious mess of trouble in the late 90s because they had an island that they had some flamingos on, and that didn't work out. So they pulled the flamingos from the island, and a bunch of vultures moved in. Well, vultures are not Disney. Disney didn't like the vultures, so Disney took the vultures out. The problem is the vultures are birds of prey. They're American birds of prey. Killing an American bird of prey is a felony. Okay, so
This fucking country. I love it.
they got into a little bit of trouble over that, but it was because everything is about image. And they didn't even consider the fact. Well, they went to the trouble to have their own county created so they could have their own local government, their own laws, their own courts, their own everything. And it apparently didn't occur to the person who thought to take out the vultures that there might be bigger laws that they had to be.
I just
dealing
love
with.
how sorry, I know I keep interrupting you. I just love how dystopian that is, that Disney has its own county. I love that. I love it for its horror. I just hope soon they get their own Blackwater detachment.
They probably already do.
Bet
I mean, they have everything else.
I bet they. Why wouldn't you? You can't have a terrorist attack there. Could ruin it. I bet they have a fucking team at Dale Comstocks.
But one of the
dressed
things,
as Mickey and Minnie Mouse.
What's the guy's name?
Heinrich Himmler.
No. But he mentioned being there, and it's like, he said it's like you would if you stepped off the pavement onto the grass, out of nowhere an employee would come and say, "Sir, you have to be on the sidewalk." It was completely controlled from the top down. And he made the point that if we ever colonize space, that's probably what that will be like, because it will be a completely controlled environment.
It'd have to be. Fuck.
So, and he had another chapter about the Mall of America in Minnesota. And I don't know if you've ever been there. I actually flew into one of our manufacturers in Minnesota and had a few hours to stroll around the Mall of America myself. And it's like, if humans colonized another planet or built a space station or something, it's like everything you would ever need is there, except that everything costs money. So the thing about the censors is, I think it's exactly the same drive. It's the desire to create this information environment where everything is completely controlled, where nothing that is out of control, like my novel, for example, is permitted, and thus everything can be predicted.
That's the important part, is thus if all variables are accounted for and I guess quantified, any outcome can be predicted and preemptively shut down.
Unless you're dealing with humans, but these people are too stupid to realize that.
And they're reptilians. Tim Dillon said, Mark Zuckerberg, Sergey Brin, these guys are demons. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean they're actually shape-shifting aliens wearing skin suits. But yeah, I feel like I gotta stop listening to Tim Dillon, because it's slowly getting to the point where I don't have any original thoughts. I just regurgitate Tim Dillon.
All right, I have got to figure out this guy's name.
Yeah, find it out. I can see I can visibly see it's bothering. I'm just like, What? So it's not Ted Kaczynski. He wrote. You said Time Wars. Just Google.
That's one of the guy's books.
Just Google Time Wars author. I don't know why I'm telling you how to Google.
Yeah, and I just did, and it's not coming up.
And he wrote about.
Was it Jerry? It wasn't gerrymander, was it?
Did he? Because I remember reading about Disney World at the beginning of the book Fast Food Nation by Eric M. Schlosser, who also wrote
No,
Command
it
and
wasn't
Control.
gerrymander. Because Gerrymander wrote 4 arguments for the elimination of television and a couple of other things, but he didn't write the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, there's a couple of fictional things that have taken up all the results on Google.
Do you think the end game is, that's a fun conspiracy about COVID, is to put everyone in their homes so that they can't have these wild card interactions together on the street, and instead everything has to be through a device where they can control what's permitted? If you've got some
Well,
extra tinfoil, that's a fun one to entertain.
yeah, but I don't think that
No, I
holds
don't.
much
No, I
water.
don't think that's why. I don't think they created a bioweapon for that, but it's a fun one.
Yeah, no, this is driving me nuts. All right, whatever. All right, but anyway, the point stands is like these, Disney World, Mall of America. These are places where humans have basically established control over everything that you will ever experience in that environment,
Mm-hmm.
and the intent is total control.
Mm-hmm.
So now you get the larger scale equivalent that I have experienced was California's Central Valley, which, have you ever flown into anywhere?
I
Ever?
flew into LA November 2013.
Okay, so you know what the Earth looks like from the air as
Oh,
you're flying in from an airplane, right?
yeah,
Okay,
it's like a big flat square.
yeah. Well, I flew into Fresno
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the Central Valley, and there it's green from horizon to horizon, like you're okay. That anything green is growing there is that
Roger,
human
You're breaking up.
beings planted it.
Roger, you're breaking
And
up.
it's all complete by.
Roger,
Yeah.
you're,
Okay.
you're back.
There was
Okay.
some glitches
Yeah, you're still glitching a little bit.
there.
Roger's freezing.
Internet connection is unable.
Is unbull. That makes. Wait, you're back, Roger.
Am I back?
You're back. You're a little glitchy.
Okay. I mean, I've flown into cities by rainforests. I've flown into cities by deserts. I've flown into Louisiana, obviously, because I live here. I mean, but flying into Fresno, California was like nothing I have ever experienced before, because there isn't a fucking blade of grass that human beings didn't deliberately put there. And it's very obvious, even from an airplane. And and this was my thought as flying into the place was like, if human beings ever terraform another planet, this is what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be very.
Which is pretty close, because we pretty much did terraform the desert of California's Central Valley.
Have you ever seen the movie WALL-E?
Yes.
The Disney movie? I think that's a lot like what the future is going to be like.
Yes.
I do. The
A
spaceship
single,
and the destroyed Earth.
yeah, and a robot running around piling up all the garbage.
Yeah, one robot doing that, and then a bunch of fat humans that can't stand up because of microgravity and overweight, sitting on floating chairs with screens right in front of their eyes, and they just it's the most subtly dystopian movie that I think I've ever seen.
Yes,
AI
made for kids.
Jesus Christ. And then where do you go see it? You see it in a movie theater, sitting in a chair, eating shitty food, watching a movie about people sitting in chairs,
Yes.
eating shitty
Which I
food.
did.
Yeah, me too. I saw it in theaters with my friend Alex. Yeah, I stayed up he and I stayed up all night, and we went and saw it the next morning drunk. We're like 18, like real adults do, right? I don't know why we did it.
No, but yeah, and the thing is, I got fed up like when the credit roll started and walked out because it's like it started to see, well, it's like, well, they're going to redeem this, and it's like, nope, they're not going to redeem this. It's like as far as my head canon there is everybody died.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only possible ending, and I mentioned that on a left-leaning discussion blog, and everyone was like, oh, but you should have seen the credits. They had these little, it was in the distant past, and they had all these like fresco panels showing how they learned everything again and all. It's like, no, it's just like after what I saw on the cruise ship, it's like, no, they all died. That's the way it ended.
They went into a star. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, they came back to the earth, and then they all died.
They couldn't deacidify the oceans, and it just ended.
They couldn't hack it. It's
what it was.
I don't believe that these people that were that
worthless
paid from
human cattle.
Yeah, I don't believe that they actually got back in shape and started a society where they actually had to plant things and shit.
Those people didn't roll up their sleeves and become like a Dick Prenicky or a John Wayne or some shit. They died. They died out of their climate-controlled anti-gravity chairs.
Yeah. The two that actually were capable found out that two people are not enough to start a society.
No, they were wiped out. Yeah, they lived the rest of their days.
They were probably both women or something.
They both went. No, they were probably euthanized by the AI on board the ship. Dude, this is a conspiracy I've talked about with she's been on here before. Bethany, we've talked about what I think is the conspiracy of like something like Neuralink, right? It's kind of like Gregor Mendel, right? With directioned breeding. We see it with dogs or whatever animals, where you don't kill those that have a certain trait. What you do is you breed it out to where that trait is no longer possible. I think the future of censorship isn't even going to be where you censor someone like me. Like they'll have killed me a long time by now. What they're going to do is they're going to start monitoring the wiring of your brain with something like Neuralink or Neuralink V20. And it's going to be soon. What you're going to do is you're just going to breed out people who are able to think critically. Everyone's going to have a Neuralink implant, and it's going to have a little tiny chip of C4. And if you start thinking critically, if you start forming those neural pathways, boom, just blows your brains out the back here to the point where the only people that can even be possibly born are those that they're the Wall-E people.
Yeah. There's a really famous science fiction story, and again, I can't remember the name of either the story or the author off the top of my head, but it's well known. It starts out with the parent, the loving parents and their son, and they're trying to teach him, and they're teaching him all of the shit that's bullshit. That's it's like, oh yeah, the sun is just a glowing ball in the sky. It's a few hundred miles away, and they're just feeding him these things, and then at the end it turns out he has to take a test, and the result of the test, when they get the result, it's, well, your son exceeded the intelligence allowance and was euthanized, and we'll send you the remains.
I mean, but really.
And that was written like in the 60s.
Jesus. It's going to be something like that, man, where they're going to be like, ooh, it's not just going to be, it's going to be like that fake defense contractor video someone made. It's like a dramatic short film, but it's like where they put like these little shape charges on these mini drones.
Oh yes,
we talked about that, yeah, right. And but what does it do? Is it goes down and it tracks the actual hashtag of a banned thought item, and if you tweet it from your phone, the Killbot comes and finds you and just blows your brain.
Well, they have facial recognition and racial identity recognition and all, so it's like,
yeah, not that far from right now, baby.
And I love the tone of it because it was pitched as like the sales pitch, right? You know, it's like,
Oh no,
you
it
know,
was pitched as a great thing.
nuclear is obsolete. You know, $20 million gets you, and then the C-40 comes over and the hatch opens and there's a bazillion of them. It's like enough to kill half a city. The bad
Bad
half.
half. Yeah, and then I love how amped up the guy is. The
Yeah,
sales guy. It's a guy that's watched way too much
yeah.
Tony Robbins.
Did
And
you see that?
yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that? It's like, dude, if he was selling anything else, if it was like a multi-level marketing scheme, I'd be on board. But it's like the drone comes and just boom, just blows the head out. Did you see that? The guy's just on the edge of coming. Did you see that?
Yes.
Raytheon. It's just, but it's so eerie because, like, but you
And
see,
we're laughing at it, but it's not all that funny.
we're laughing at it, and then
Because like
this image is gonna waver and crackle, and that's when the movie starts. It's the clip of this podcast,
yeah.
and then it's gonna say 20 years later, and it's gonna start with some Rambo guy running through the war-torn streets of what used to be like Detroit, or that's a bad example, like New York, and he's gonna be running through the streets and as just like trying to go to the market to like get some water, and he's gonna like. Do you hear it? The killbots are coming. That's what it's going to be, and this podcast is going to be the opening. Did you see that?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, you know, it's like the people who made that video said every technology that was in that video exists.
Right. Yeah. And that
It
video
just
is several
hasn't-
years old.
Yeah, it just hasn't been miniaturized quite as much as was depicted. But
Publicly.
as we all know,
Publicly.
everything is getting miniaturized.
Yeah. Yeah. None of this technology has been miniaturized, at least in the classified papers or the declassified papers.
Right. So
I think it'll be something even more advanced than that. I think the idea of flying around a physical shape charge will be antiquated in even a couple of years. It'll be some sort of pulse from your phone. It'll be some sort of electromagnetic. I don't know what. I don't know.
I think the thing about the shape charges from the little drone that's about that big was terrifyingly believable compared to the alternative stuff.
That's true. That is true. Right?
I mean, you know, the other things you're talking about, you know, weird, you know, laws of physics and
okay, yeah,
forces and stuff. No, that's a thing that could be done. That was their entire point.
Well, okay. What about something maybe like, remember the what were those phones several years ago that were blowing up and burning, the Note phones?
Yeah, the lithium battery shorted out.
Maybe you could make something built in.
Yeah, well, if you had an implant, then that would be a really bad idea. Fortunately, I don't think any of us are equipped with those just yet.
Imagine getting Neuralink and then tweeting something about Tibet.
Oops.
You really trying to do that? Did you see?
Yeah, you have this little ball of fire explode above your left ear.
It won't even be that. It'll be so subtle. There'll be no discernible thing. It'll just be this tiny little incision right in the brainstem. You'll just die. And instead of getting suicided like in Epstein where he clearly was killed, it'll just be, was it a suicide? Because why do that? Why not just take control of the motor cortex and then just have you walk into a street like some weird, like the bug guy from Men in Black? Sugar, water. Just Tommy over there, it was weird. He went on this really long transphobic pro-Tibet rant last night, and then he walked out in front of a freeway where a Tesla just so happened to conveniently swerve and hit him.
Yes.
Tibet. There are two genders.
Your terms are agreeable.
Yeah, right? I mean, there are two genders. Donald Trump won the election. Just boom.
Yeah, it's.
But
yeah, I mean, there are two levels here. You know, it's like you can have fun playing with the conspiracy theory level about, you know, what Area 51 shit is out there and all, but actually, what the drone video is about is what actually is physically possible with existing technology. We don't need the fucking aliens anymore.
We don't need the UFOs and the anagram.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's actually possible, even without the conspiracy theories. It's just a thing. And it's like everybody being tracked. Every vehicle in my company now has a GPS and a camera. We were told January 1, you've got to install the camera in your company car. Okay. They didn't tell us that the camera also yells at you if you're going too fast or if you stop too hard or stuff like that.
That's so.
And and of course they know everywhere you go because it's like which is okay, it's their car.
I get it with a
I don't have a
company
problem
car.
with
Like,
that.
okay.
But it's like I've had people here. They have these programs now. The insurance companies will pay. Will give you a discount as a private person if you install the app on your smartphone that lets them track your vehicle, but it also lets them track everything else that you do. Basically, these things can track everywhere you go and
Mm-hmm.
remember it. And if you ever use like the Google Maps traffic view,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
cool as shit, isn't it? You know where they
populated.
get the data, right? And that means they, and their fig leaf is that they anonymize the data,
Oh,
which numerous researchers have shown is bullshit. Because even if they did,
it's too
then
hyper. It's too hyper complex. Your patterns. You can't.
well, there's too much of it, and it's too easy to reintegrate it and to reconstruct the parts of it that are you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like
So,
it's like whenever you see those like pictures of uh like Delta Force guys or something, and how like the facial patterns of active Delta Force members is technically classified top secret. So which is why whenever you see all the guys standing around like a dead terrorist or something, but the only thing that's blurred out is just a bar over their eyes. You can still see like their
mhm.
jawbone and I'm always just like, what the fuck is the? It's like if I was like, this is Tommy Kerrigan, but you can't know, and it's not even
Yeah,
like it's like that. It's like Tommy and Roger. It's just like
yeah. I can't, because your nose and your mouth are not like also part of you.
yeah,
And
yeah, and not to mention your voice is 100 times more unique than your fingerprint. But sorry,
so,
Roger, I keep interrupting you, getting excited, getting all hyped up on this anti-censorship speech.
oh, it's a good topic. I mean, yeah, it's and we had a great start with it. It's like my comment to your blog got censored
About
about my comment about censorship,
on what video, Roger?
episode 350
About
of
censorship.
about censorship.
About what? About Project Veritas's video getting taken down from YouTube. What video? It was
Yeah.
a video about how they got banned from Twitter. Why did they get banned from Twitter for posting a video on Facebook? About what? About Facebook censorship.
I mean, it's censorship all the way down.
It's just the Russian dolls. You should keep opening
Yeah.
it up. At
Well,
the,
and and
at the
and
center, it's
and
just a reptilian Zuckerberg.
well, that's the kind of the way that it starts. I mean,
Yeah,
the Germans would have done that in 1935 if they could have, but they didn't have the
absolutely,
technology. And
absolutely.
but now we have the technology, so it can be so much cleaner and more efficient.
Man, I get the vibe. We need a video of another. Did you see that? But we just need it with censorship. You can censor someone. And then if anyone covers that news, you can censor them too. And if someone comments
Yeah,
about that, censor them too. Did you see that?
yeah.
Did you see that whistleblower?
Well,
Censor.
where it's
Censor.
where it might be going is Norman Spinrad wrote a novel again in the 1960s called Agent of Chaos, uh, and it was about a society that spanned the solar system, had colonies in all the planets. Uh, what they thought of as a very high technology in the 60s, and they had this technology they called eyes and beams. And so if you're in a public space, every 10 feet or so, there would be this little module.
Oh yeah.
pointed at the public space, and it was a TV camera and a lead plug. And the master computer was monitoring everything. If it detected an unpermitted act, because there was a finite list of permitted acts, and if it detected an unpermitted act, then it would blow the plug and kill you with a beam of radiation. Boom. Okay. And this was life. It was like you'd be walking along and the computer decides you just did something that wasn't permitted. Bam, you're dead. And that was where the story started.
That's you got to think though, right? With all these dystopian futures where it's like we are just so disposable to them. At a certain point, you have to wonder, why are they even keeping us around? And again, Tim Dillon, he was like, someone's like, why are they even keeping us around if they just want to censor us and control us? So like, what is our value? And he was like, oh, I don't think much. I think very soon as robots are scalable with a moderate AI, we're going to get COVID part 2. And it's not going to have a survival rate. It's just not going to have one. There's going to be no survival rate. I think they want us because right now what we are.
Yeah, well, they need our labor.
Well, yes. Right now what we are is we are very cheap AI, right? We are very cheap Boston Dynamics robots. We come with a pre-programmed AI. You don't have to grow us, right? All you got to do is just get a woman pregnant. It grows. They can turn McDonald's into a person. It's very streamlined, right? We already know how to do the whole birth thing. We've got hospitals set up. We already have the schools where they get their programming. Right now, we are very cheap AI to them. The second they can replace us with carbon fiber, solar power, or algae-driven machines that don't break down, don't need days off, don't ask to be in unions, don't watch TV, they don't Google search questionable terms, they're going to get rid of us. So whereas I used to look at us as like robots, as dumb versions of us, I think we are now low-tier AI drones. The second they can mass produce these things that don't die, they can be in the elements or in outer space.
Yeah. No, I don't doubt that you're right that there are people who see it that way. That's
how long? How long do you think we have left as meat workers?
It's not as close as some people think. I would say probably between 20 and 30 years.
Yeah.
Which is good because I just turned Monday is my birthday. I'll turn 57. And
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
barring some miracle of life extension, I probably won't be alive to see that dystopian realization of things.
I doubt I will. I'm 30, but see, I have a podcast and I have very controversial thoughts, Roger.
Yeah, you'll get put against the wall first. Definitely.
I'll be canceled, if you know what I mean. Far before all the peons are gassed.
Yes. Yep. Put him up against the wall.
Hey, but you know what?
Pink Floyd's The Wall. Have you ever heard? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's have you seen the movie? Pink Floyd's The Wall?
I did, I think in 2015 on acid, so I don't remember it. But I know that it was profound.
Yeah, well, it's like they have the like the walking hammers and shit. It's like okay, and then Pink wakes up from after he almost kills the groupie, and he's like, the realization, I am Hitler. And then he goes to the concert, and and it's like, is that a spick? Put him against the wall.
Yeah, I'll be I don't know. If we keep going down this dystopian future, I think they'll knock me off. They'll cancel me probably. I would say I'm off YouTube before 2022.
Yeah.
I would say.
Now, you talked to your investor today. Did you warn him of this problem?
That's why I love him, man. He's like, fuck yeah. It's like, fuck yeah, burn this bitch down. You think I'm patriotic? Meet him. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll be off YouTube before, but I only have one strike. Actually, I don't even have a strike. I just have a warning from YouTube. That's it.
Well, yeah, that's but the thing is that all of these platforms like YouTube, which is part of Google slash
Alphabet.
Alphabet slash whatever the fuck else they're doing nowadays, then
They
you
own.
basically
Sorry,
you've got them, you've got Facebook, you've got Amazon, you've
Facebook,
got
which owns.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Um,
they knocked
on
off
that,
Parlor.
yeah, well, Parlor was,
They shot that in the knee and threw it in a ditch.
yeah, can't have no competition when
That
we're the boss in this
yeah.
town.
Oh, this town's only big enough for one zone of thought, boy. I see
Yeah.
you don't think them white boys is devils. We can't be having
Well, it's
that.
not even about I don't even think it's about the zone of thought. I think it's about encroaching on their intellectual territory.
Oh,
About,
you
you know,
do you?
it's like you can only have one social platform. You can only have one dinky Twitter-esque social platform. You can only have one video platform. You can, it's like you encroach on it. The thing with Google is that
God, they're so
for years
fucking
I've been
evil.
saying that, of course, when they were founded, their motto
Don't be evil. I mean,
was
it's
"Don't be
comical.
evil."
It's comical.
Well, I said around 2010 that I thought that they had quietly dropped the word "don't."
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They brought in a consultant.
So,
They said, how can we streamline it? And their consultant's name was Henry Kissinger.
and part of it is that they, as I saw it described, they realized that being in the search business means being that you're an advertiser, and that they're in the advertising business, and they should start to act like it. And boy, have they!
Did you see that? It's like shadow banning Roger's comment. And it's just some guy at Google headquarters, and he's like, "Did you see that?" He's got one hand in his pants, pinching his nipple. He's like,
there's like 5 people have read the thing, and it's like, oh my god, we can't let this stand. It's talking about us. It's talking about the thing in India. It's talking about Facebook. It's talking about,
the fact that they banned a comment on my podcast, my shitty little podcast.
Yeah.
From one of the only liberal people who recurs on this episode. Probably the only, Rob, actually. One of 3 recurring guests who leans moderately left. And Roger, you just fucking... I'm in the gulag, and you just gave me some bread through the concertina wire. And fucking... Who's the guy in fuck, what's the name of that... What's the name of the sniper? Fuck, is it Schindler's List? Devil's Arithmetic? Who's the sniper? You know what I'm talking about? The black and white movie? Fuck.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It's like TH something.
I can't do names. I think there's something wrong with my fucking hippocampus or something.
I think I have Alzheimer's. Fuck. Because I just watched a Family Guy clip making fun of that. I think it's Schindler's List.
No, it's the
sniper. What's his name? Amon Goeth. That's his name. And Schindler's List. Yeah. Yeah. You just you came onto my channel and gave me you're like, hey Tommy, here's someone at the Google headquarters just got the digital sniper, and they're like, boom, and Roger's head just exploded. And now Ernie and Rob are watching the channel and going, staring.
Wonder about leaving any comments on Tommy's channel now.
Maybe I'll stop with maybe they'll stop. Anybody else want to act up?
And do they have a flag on my account?
I bet you probably have a shadow flag. I bet you don't know you have a flag. That's the other thing, is I know I have a flag because I had an episode where, like, maybe me and some of the special forces guys were saying something about, I don't know, maybe shooting some people. Maybe that happened. Well, maybe it was episode 289, and maybe it got yanked, but you can find it on Rumble. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Maybe I was talking about using an M60 in the streets. I don't know. We're just playing games here. But
Yeah.
that okay, I get it. Your platform, take it down. You know what? Okay, I agree with that. I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't know where I'm going with that. What I'm trying to justify now.
Well, it's great. It's a private company. They can do what they want, which is your principle.
Yes.
But on the other hand, back in 2002, there would have been 20 other places you could have gone to express your view.
Yes.
That would have different principles. That wouldn't all be. But now, if one of these mega uber all entities,
transnational giganto globocorps,
decides that your opinion is not correct, then you're gone from all of their channels, from all of the groups that exist on them. And it's like it's like in the 19th century, if you got blacklisted by the railroads, you couldn't get a fucking job doing anything anywhere.
And that's right. And that's where antitrust stuff comes in, right?
That's where it came from. Yes. And unions and a whole bunch of other shit we take for granted.
Man, you know what? Well, no, it's one of my favorite conspiracies is Donald Trump's actually part of the deep state. And they brought him in there because they needed a way to get liberals to fight against free speech. So they brought in Orange Man, and they got these people that traditionally would march in the streets saying it's freedom of expression to start screaming for censorship. And now, as we move back towards the left, now we have the right saying, well, I don't forget what it was going to. Now we have people on the right. Actually, no, that's a bit of a head fuck because now we have people on the right saying we need to break up these tech monopolies.
Yeah. Well,
what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. What was I trying to say? Okay. The whole thing about being, censored is, they can do that, but where does the backdraft come from? The whole thing is it's so.
Where's the what come from?
The backlash, it's
okay.
The
how can there be a backlash?
Well, and part of the purpose is to prevent that, but there's always been one. And so far, every time in American society that someone has tried that,
something breaks through.
Yeah, but this is looking strangely different.
Rather dim.
I mean the whole thing, I grew up in the 70s. That was when I came of age. And so we had this whole idea in the background that we're going to solve poverty, we're going to go into space, we're going to do all these wonderful things. And a lot of it was about, we're going to solve racism. We're going, there was a lot of hope leading into Jimmy Carter's administration.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Carter was not a very effective president, not because he wasn't a good guy. He was one of the nicest people who ever held the office.
Yeah.
But he couldn't play the game because politics is like poker. You have to be willing to lie.
Politics is like
hide your hand.
You have to be willing to kill children.
Yeah. And Carter, that wasn't in his bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got Reagan. And
Bill Hicks. Ronald Wilson Reagan. 6 letters, 6 letters, 6 letters.
I had the privilege of voting against him twice and against his vice president later, which didn't do any good. But everything that had been rolled up in the civil rights movement and this whole thing just got whooshed back. It's like all the hippies bought loafers and sports coats and, got jobs in offices and sold out. And, we didn't go back to the moon. It's like all of this grandiose hope that we had in the 70s was just pissed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bitter about that for years. In fact, I'm still bitter about it. It was like, this was the expectation with which I was raised, that we would have free love. We would have, all these modes of living would be accepted, that, it wouldn't be a death sentence if you were gay or if you had something else weird going on with you. It's like we would celebrate these things. We would say, humans are various, and this would be great. And instead, we decided to demonize anyone who was different and to piss on anyone who wasn't capable of making obeisance at the proper portals or whatever. And we had, the Democratic presidents we had since then were very disappointing. Bill Clinton was a Republican light. He could have run as a Republican in 1970 and won. Okay. Obama was, I voted for him a second time. He was a great guy, but he was trying again to meet people in the middle who had already met him with a machete.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't do that. And I have got to say, one of the biggest surprises of the last month, because I wasn't really a big fan of Biden. And I say that as a Democrat,
Mm-hmm.
as a lifelong Democrat, because I've watched the Democrats play Charlie Brown to Lucy holding the football my entire fucking life. And Biden didn't have it. He walked into office the first day with a stack of executive orders ready to sign. And no one expected that, because it was like, well, we have to, appease. And he was like, nope, we're gonna undo this shit that Trump did. Period. We were elected. We won the election. We're going to undo this shit that this guy did, because he didn't have congressional approval to do it. And we don't need congressional approval to undo it.
Yep.
We're just going, because if he
sword
had the right to do
Yep.
it, and it's like, and I've seen Republican presidents do that, but I've never seen a Democratic president do that. It's like, must be something about being 107 years old that
maybe there is one positive takeaway from Trump. Is it taught them to just stop with the charades and just come in swinging?
I think that there is something to that. It's necessary, because when you've got people like Mitch McConnell who are just going to just like
fuck Mitch McConnell. Fuck Mitch McConnell. Sorry, his wife's father is the chairman of the board of the largest defense contractor in China.
Okay,
just there. Sorry, go on.
But he also fucked over Congress and destroyed the Senate. And for us to have people who are going to come in and say, okay, you guys played hardball. You came in with a 44. We're not going to come in with a butter knife.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come in with a howitzer, because that's the way you guys played with us. I'm like, show me more.
Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? Maybe, I said this back in like March of last year, maybe May, I don't know, one of the blurs of 2020. As I said, the thing I liked most that I saw about Biden, the only thing I saw that I liked was when someone's like, you're trying to grab our guns. And he's like, you want to go outside? I'll kick your ass. And everyone was like, what the fuck is this? You know, all my conservative family was like, fuck this guy. I'm like, no, that's why I like Trump, and fuck it. I'll cheer Biden. I was like, enough of this whole we need to talk, we need to set up a committee. Fuck that. Go in there swinging, dicks out, titties flopping, and be like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that works anymore. Shit, I'll take it.
And it's like we finally got a Democrat who's doing that. I'm like, okay, so I'm nominally a Democrat. Now, the bad side of that is I think part of this censorship drive that is suddenly seems to have come out of nowhere is probably that the left thinks it is ascendant again, and the bad parts of the far left are trying to assert themselves. And that is not a good thing. So, yeah, this is part of the problem is that politics is not just like a divide.
Yeah.
It's there are different facets on both sides. In fact, the Republican Party is about to tear itself in half. I mean, I don't.
They did 4 years ago.
Yeah, and it did practically, but it didn't admit it. But it's reaching the point where they're going to have to admit that it's two parties.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to admit it because it means that they'll never hold national office again until it gets straightened out. But the Trump people and the corporate people just they don't have any congruity. There's the whole Republican Party has been held together by a delicate balance between several constituencies. And of course, the dominant constituency has always been corporate interests because they have the money. But they didn't have votes because there's not that many people that are that rich. So they had the religious people because they promised them that if you hang on with us long enough, you'll get that theocracy you want. And we'll do something about this abortion thing.
Do something about them abortions.
Yeah. And also the libertarians who think that the government, Ronald Reagan famously, went up there and said, the most terrifying sentence in the American English is, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. Which is fucking stupid. Because
worked well in World War II.
We need
government put together that A-bomb. That helped. I'm not being sarcastic.
Fuck the A-bomb. The government builds roads, sewers, water distribution systems, garbage distribution systems, all these things that would not exist.
It's 100% necessary.
Yes.
10,000% necessary.
You got these assholes who think, oh, all we have to do is get rid of the government and it'll be paradise. They have no fucking clue all the things the government is doing for them.
Not only that,
and boy, they would be very upset in about 2.5 days if the government suddenly ceased to exist and they had to deal with that shit for themselves.
Yeah, and not only that is America's not in a vacuum. We're going to be getting gang banged by some Chinese dicks over here and some Russian dicks over here. And we're going to be going, no, we don't have a government anymore. And they're going to say something in Mandarin and then throw you in a work camp. Sing Lai! You're going to be like, no. I'm a sovereign citizen. Sing Lai! That's going to be. No, see, this here is it's God's country, Badusterek. You're going to be like, I don't speak Nana. And then your buddy's head's going to explode from a kill drone.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But even if you exclude defense, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people on that side will admit that, we need the government for defense, but we don't need it for anything else. It's like, things like, and I'm considered pretty far on the left because I think it would be good to have things like a basic income. So nobody has to worry about starving to death or freezing.
I'm not against UBI.
And but a lot of people think that that is like super radically lefty.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think we're in a
And you
I
know,
think I think we're in a new time, just like you said earlier about the only reason the Nazis didn't use shadow banning in 1933 is because the technology didn't exist. It's I think we're in a different time in terms of automation and AI, that we're at a point now where one person can theoretically do the work of 10,000 people. I don't I think we're in uncharted territories in human history. This isn't the same old Game of Thrones, to use my cliche, the age old, systems of power from Egypt to modern day America. It's like we're in a weird place of automation that we've never been before.
yeah, the it, the again, the political divide is not neatly left right.
Yeah.
So uh, saying, it's considered very left to say workers should band together and negotiate with the people who are employing them so that they can make sure that they have good work environments and adequate wages and stuff like this. And they're again, who are the people howling about this though on the right? Most of the people in the Republican Party are actually themselves people who would benefit
Yes.
from these
Yes.
things.
Working class.
It's the corporate interests at the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
that think this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that's got to be worked out: is who's actually whose ally. When you got people uh, running up and down the street with guns in their hands, going "fuck the Democrats," and it's like we're the people who have been working for over 100 years to make sure that you have weekends and overtime. It's like, what's the problem? Seriously. Yeah, we need to have a talk. But we need to have a talk without that gun in your hand and those horns on your head and all that shit. It's like we need to, like rationally.
You know what we should have done? We should have held a BLM riot next to the Capitol riot and let the fringes of both parties. And here I am standing at 30,000 feet, even though I was there, filming it, peacefully filming it for the record. I didn't break anything.
Mhm.
Is we should have had all of them duke it out, because that would have weeded out all the problem makers. And then everyone who stayed home last summer and stayed home this January, they then talk and they're like, so the retards killed each other off. And it's just like hand across the aisle. Let's get some stuff done now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the BLM people don't actually have
Or Antifa, whoever the fuck it was, the riots.
yeah. Well, you have Antifa. Antifa is they get a little pissed off because you got to remember that Antifa stands for anti-fascist, and they're thinking about World War II.
Yeah. I mean, but I don't think
So
wearing black and beating people with a bike lock is anti-fascist. Nor do I think the Proud Boys are pro-America. I think the
yeah,
semantics in both of them are retarded.
but BLM is for the most part completely peaceful. I
Sure.
mean,
Yeah.
they're about like, we don't want the cops shooting at us. They don't want the cops shooting at anyone else. They just don't want to be shot at themselves. Like,
Yeah.
it's
And some bad actors have hijacked that. The friends I do know that have marched with them are my black friends, who are just like the most level boring people I know.
mhm.
It's unfortunately the loudest members of any party are the ones that give it the voice. And it's so, yeah, I mean, there are people that riot and break shit, man. But like
But yeah, and
the
but
best.
anytime you have a large thing, and also it the also the thing is infiltrators are a thing. You
Agent
know,
provocateurs.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, you have a peaceful protest, but you've got these assholes who are actually employed by the government to come in and try and incite a riot so that
Not
they have any.
try, do it well.
Yeah.
Do it well, right? We know that happens we know that happens with BLM and Antifa. We know there are guys wearing jack boots that don't really fit in there. We know that a guy that broke into the Capitol, turns out he worked for the FBI for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's like all kinds of shit is still coming out about the 6th. God, that's and the thing is, that's bullshit against your side. That's
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
my side didn't even have anything to do with that. You
That's
weren't
what I'm
even there.
that's what I'm saying. Is
But
again,
actually, I think what happened there was that the really bad guys who had been planning all along for months to do used you
Mhm.
and the
Oh,
people like you as cover.
oh yeah, no, and I've said it before. It's what's the Mark Twain quote? It's easier to fool a man than it is to convince a man he's been fooled. I've been the first to say, I feel like I was used, and there's no worse feeling. You feel like your intelligence has been taken advantage. You start questioning yourself. You're like, man,
Yeah.
am I a stupid hick? Am I a stupid trumper? Like, I think I'm intelligent. It's the worst feeling in the world to realize you were used,
Well,
but I
yeah,
do.
and I will say in your defense, I understand exactly why you would have wanted to go. Like I told you the day after, it's like there was a part of me that was envious that you were there. It was a day history made. You were in the middle of it. But on the other hand, it probably wasn't the best idea.
Probably
Not,
wasn't.
but really, you had no idea just what was going to happen. You were
I was
used.
I was eating a Subway wrap 30 minutes beforehand, and I was like, "You guys want to go see the Capitol? I've never seen it before." And I went down there bushy eyed, "Hey, let's go see this." The next thing you know, it was like, "Oh no!"
There's mortars going.
It was like, "Doom, doom, doom." It was like, "Oh no!" It was it was, and then you leave there and you're like, "Someone's gonna knock on my door. I know it," and it's as well as they probably should, right? But
Well,
you're right. It's
if
the
they do,
worst.
you've got an honest story to tell. I mean,
I've got a video that shows it.
yes. So, I mean, I don't think you have anything to worry about. And I wouldn't be surprised if eventually you do get a knock on your door,
Oh yeah,
but I don't think
I'm
you have a
sure.
lot to worry about over it. I think it'll just be more like dotting the I's and crossing the T's and making, it's like,
They'll
oh, were you in
probably
this
want
place? This is
probably
what you
want the video.
saw.
Yeah, they probably want the
Yeah.
video.
Yes.
They can fucking have it.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if you aren't eventually contacted about that, but I
I
don't
have
think you have anything to worry about it.
I have no doubt in my mind I will be.
Um, yeah, because
It's
it
a
was
fun game of Jack in the Box.
it was it was some bad shit. It was not something that was supposed to happen. So
Yeah, it's but I also have to take like full responsibility. No one put a gun in my head. I'm a 30-year-old man. I went like granted I thought that I perceived that I was doing the right thing, and in
well,
hindsight,
you were going to
I
share
thought,
your voice,
yeah, what
and that's an American thing.
sure. Sure.
But
It's
you were used.
yeah, and like as we're talking about this right now, even though it's been a month and 7 days, looking at the clock, perhaps that I haven't framed it yet, but I'm sure there are a lot of guys like me that went to a BLM thing, a bunch of black guys my age, and were probably like, "Fuck this! Like this can't keep happening." And the next thing you know, Target's being looted, and they're probably going, "I got fucking used,"
Hmm.
and it feels bad. And I think that sheds some light on Antifa. I'll go so far as to say I'm sure there are people there that legitimately think, "Hey, I'm fighting fascism." And this isn't to give everyone some like get out of jail free card, but after having been to the 6 myself and knowing people there, and the vast majority of them are as boring and relatively good intentioned as me, and they're all even there going, "Dude, did you see that shit?" And yeah, and they're like, "Fuck that shit, dude." I can only imagine that there are that many people just like me who just happen to, instead of wearing a Trump hat, they wore black and went to an Antifa march, or went and wore a "I Can't Breathe" shirt and marched through Atlanta. Next thing you know, a Wendy's is burning down, and they're going, I wasn't part of that. I was marching for and they're going, everyone's, and now you have assholes like me going BLM burning down cities, and it's like the tables can quickly be turned to say, well, you were there on the 6th, and then what am I to defend now and say, well, I wasn't doing that? It's very, I can't have this patience and mercy with myself without applying it to others. Right.
And that is very mature. I mean, that's, a lot of people could not do that. A lot of people older than I can't see it that way.
Which is why a kill drone is going to come through my window any second now.
Yes, because people who think for ourselves, it's like we can't be tolerated.
Roger and I are both just, our heads are going to explode at the same time, and the guy's going to come in. He's going to wipe the blood off the camera. Did you see that? And that's going to be the last episode of the podcast. Focus, come on, focus, camera. Fuck, that's what happens when I get too close to it. Come on, are we back?
I noticed you still have problems with that thing.
Yeah,
it has a little mind of its own about where to focus.
You know what it is? It's about the size of one of those kill drones. Tommy, lean in closer. It's not focusing. Bam. Did you see that? Fuck. Whatever. It's kind of focusing. Did you see that? Hold on. Let me change the camera real quick. I gotta change it to my with my laptop, and it's gonna be blurred out. Part of it there, yeah, the top's gonna be blurred out, and then back to the. Kind of worked, maybe.
You seem to be in focus, at least as far as I can tell from here.
I'm basically Einstein. Yeah, no, it's because it's just balancing on top of the laptop. Nice $200 webcam just perched up there.
Precarious. Oh, you're still doing that?
Well, unlike what we tried with the Logitech, well, this one's Logic too. Is this one the HDMI cable is going out behind it, and it's like a thick, sturdy cable that comes around to the laptop. It's not like super bendable. It is, but it isn't. So it kind of almost acts like a selfie stick, and so I have it balanced on top of the hard drives, and it stays. This is the 52nd episode with it, so it's this is the definition of fake it till you make it, because that's the webcam with the flat magnetic bottom that was designed for the Mac Pro, that $50,000 computer, and I just bought it independently and slapped it on top of this puppy.
So, all right. So tell me, did you look at an apartment this afternoon?
I didn't, because it's Saturday, and I put in time to request to meet with them. And they're like, "What would you be your request time?" And I was like, "I would prefer this time right here. Thank you very much." And they were like, "Okay." And then I checked my email. And I called them, and I reached a robot, and it was like, "Office hours are," and I was like, "You dirty sons of a bitch." So I drove back, stopped by Wawa.
Oh, that's capitalism for you.
Capitalism, baby. Stopped by, got myself a sandwich. I do appreciate Wawa, because now they show the calories when you're putting the sandwich together. And I was like, I don't need mayo, because my gut's rolling over my sweatpants.
I didn't tell you that I had my little encounter with, well, of course, GME, GameStop.
Oh shit, yeah, GameStop.
Bottomed at 50. Somebody predicted that, as I recall. And my reasoning behind that was twofold. Was one, that you've got people who liquidated their positions, made money, even though they couldn't liquidate at all, had some stock left. They're not going to sell that low because they don't have to. They've made money.
Yeah.
Then you've got people who bought high, got screwed. They're not going to liquidate because they're going to hope it can go back up.
Yeah.
That's, I don't see the psychology by that. So anyway, you've got the stock is now floored at more than double its previous price. And I don't see it going down for at least another 6 months. Everybody's basically holding their breath, wondering if something's going to take it back on another rocket ride.
Do you think what was its highest recorded number?
It was right around 400.
I was gonna say, because if you go look at E-Trade, it tops it at 375. But I
Yeah.
remember looking at it right before I was gonna buy some, and then E-Trade told me I couldn't because I was a peon. But I tried to buy it, and I thought I saw it at 420.
It might have been it was a very sharp peak. But the thing is like when Robinhood and then a few hours later E-Trade and the other traders shut out buying, the one thing that doesn't happen in normal stock trading, everyone saw the writing on the wall at the same time. The people who had been driving it up could no longer buy. That meant going up was no longer a possibility. So, well, that looks like a good time to liquidate,
Jump ship.
or or at least realize your earnings. Now, the reason I'm thinking of that is this is what I did with my teeny little sliver of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So, did I tell you about my teeny little sliver of Bitcoin?
No, sorry, I've got my hood pulled up, not because I'm going full Grand Dragon of the KKK. It's I've got the light coming down on my face.
Yeah,
Gives me a little bit of a headache.
Okay, so back when I put Mopi on.
Let me go pee. I've gone 2 hours without peeing.
All right, actually, I can stand to do that too. So maybe you should just pause this.
I'll do no such thing. Everyone listening to this, you should go pee too. We'll be right back.
Well, we're about to have a minute of nothing. Okay. Oh. Hi, Tommy's audience. If you want to buy a copy of my book, The Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect, I encourage you to go directly to lulu.com, L-U-L-U, because then I get more money.
Shit.
Hey, he's back.
He's back. Yeah, I need to change the link to Lulu, not Amazon. Because I realize I always put it as Amazon, but I know.
Well, it should be Amazon for everything except print copies, because Lulu is print copies. But yeah, you want to go to Amazon if you want an ebook.
Okay.
I mean, that's they're that for that. But if what you want is a physical copy to hold in your hand, then Lulu is better for me. Costs the same. Their customer service actually I think is a bit better, and I get like 5 times as much money.
Fuck yeah. And you might want a physical copy because very soon Roger, after being seen on a video with a white guy in American
we're all gonna be
flag,
wiped off the internet.
You're about to be wiped. You're about to be scooted right over here into the right fascists. In which case, all of your work will be canceled. Which is why you need a physical copy of Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect, because if you don't, you're going to get the censored version, and everything is just going to be a non-binary, gender fluid foxkin, and it's going to have nothing about. It's going to have nothing about a white programmer or the military or scarecrow.
Wait, are you saying Lawrence is white? Because I don't think I said that anywhere in the novel.
Oh my God, his mind's melting. He's gone full transsexual left. Roger's like, actually, it's a gender fluid, non-binary.
We can be pretty sure that Carolyn is white because she's from Arkansas.
And she
And
gets
I've been to Arkansas.
no, and she gets
It's,
sunburned. She gets
yeah,
sunburned. All
that's
right.
yes. But she's also from Arkansas. If you've ever been to Arkansas,
Lived in Arkansas.
okay, so there are like no black people in Arkansas.
I don't remember. I was five till 9.
Um, there are no black people in Arkansas.
I don't know.
Actually, I have
We had a pretty big plantation, and we had a lot of field work.
I know, but no, I have an extremely racist manager that we went there once, and he spent the whole time of our trip in Northwest Arkansas going, every time, there's another one, there's an actual black person.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. There's not a.
Well, he's from Mississippi,
Oh,
so
that's weird
yeah.
because there's so few black people in northern New Hampshire that I do remember in the little town where my dad grew up forever. There was a black guy, and I was like, "Do you guys have black people?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's Black Bob," and it was like, "Oh, you
There's
there's
a
one."
black person,
Oh, okay,
not people, person.
close enough. Yeah, man. It's I figure.
Yeah. Like when I visited Idaho, we saw one black person in Boise, Idaho.
Do you
An
think
entire city.
so? That I wonder if there's like a similar right. Who is the white guys in Africa? Mr. Livingston, I presume.
They,
Right? Because he just walked through. He just saw white guy. He's like, there's only going to be one other white guy in the continent.
yeah. It well it, the oh that was the I saw a movie about a guy who went he ended up as like a personal doctor for Idi Amin, and yeah, it was like being the white guy there was like really exotic, and it's
Jeez.
like all the women wanted to fuck him and everything. It was like and he was like living high until he realized what a bad dude Idi Amin was.
There was when I worked at Secrets.
Oh, it was the last king of Scotland, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your Bitcoin story?
Okay, so the Bitcoin thing. All right, so flashing back to 2002, I put my novel online and I put a tip jar, which was PayPal at the time. Now, at the time, PayPal had a really crappy reputation, which they actually deserved because they did some really crappy things. And I had a few people who said, "Look, we want to send you some money, but we hate PayPal." So it's like, "Can you do something else?" And I actually had one guy put a paper check in the mail and send it to me. But for the others, I created a Bitcoin wallet.
In 2002?
Yeah, and well, this was like in 2004, I think. It was when it was pretty new.
Okay,
And
I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I had no idea it was that old.
oh yeah, it was the early years it developed very slowly. So I put so I put the QR code on my website and said, all right, so I'll take Bitcoin. And I got 4 or 5 donations, probably totaled what would have been maybe $60 at the time. And it started rolling along around maybe 2010-ish. It's like, oh, I made a donation to the Fully Informed Jury Association because they accepted Bitcoin to celebrate the fact that I've been called for jury duty.
What's that? The Fully Informed Jury?
Oh, they're an organization that is dedicated to making sure jury members know that they can vote their conscience instead of the instructions given to them by the judge.
What's it called?
The
I'm writing it down.
FIJA, the Fully Informed Jury Association.
Fully FIJA. No, I'm actually writing it down. I'm not being sarcastic.
No, I see that you are. Yes. Oh no, they're a very interesting group.
Fully okay. F feature fully okay. All right.
Letting the court know that you even know that organization exists is a good way to make sure that you are never seated on a jury.
I didn't know it existed. Clearly.
So I donated what was then $25 to them, in equivalent Bitcoin. But anyway, to around 2010, I noticed that my teeny little sliver of Bitcoin was starting to actually be worth some money, because it was starting to be worth, like, at the time I had, I think at my peak, I had just short of a quarter of a Bitcoin, but 0.250 milli Bitcoins. And I spent a bit of that making the donation. I spent a little making a couple of purchases with vendors that would take it. And at the time my client stopped working, I think I had about 0.180, something somewhere around there. And then I found out I was trying to buy gift cards to cash it out, and my transactions wouldn't go through. And at the time, what I had was, a few $100 according to the converter. And it was like, well, it's not worth, I was not a Bitcoin. I'm still not a Bitcoin wonk or anything. So I was just like, nah, fuck it. So some years later, my wife comes to me and says, Roger, you have some Bitcoin, don't you? I said, yeah. He said, you might want to check the price. And it was trading at like $18,000 per Bitcoin. So for that, it was worth figuring out what the fuck was wrong with my client. It turned out that there is a fee that is part of your transaction when you make a Bitcoin transaction, and it had increased, but the client that I had been using was hard coded, so it couldn't be changed.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Lost the light. Had to change something. Yeah, I can hear you. Fuck, I can hear you.
All right. So anyway, so I had to download a new client, learn how to use it, export my crypto key from the old one into the new one, and learn how all that shit worked and all. But then I was able to buy gift cards. Yeah, and the thing is, it still wasn't worth like getting an account with an exchange and all this bullshit. But I found out that egifter.com accepted Bitcoin, and they would sell you gift cards. So at the time, I bought a $500 Amazon gift card and a $500 Home Depot gift card, knowing that those things are equivalent to cash as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about half my position. It left me with 0.096, a little less than a tenth of a Bitcoin. And I said, well, I'll sit on this because people were saying it might go to 40,000. All right, well, whatever. Well, and actually, what actually happened is shortly after I did that play, it went. Okay, so it was down to 5. I had another guy donate 0.02 to me when it was trading at about 10,000. He apparently had a little bit of remorse for pirating my novel. I don't know if he printed out a bunch of copies or something, but he sent me an email and said, thanks for putting your novel online. I pirated it a bit, so here's some Bitcoin. All right. So that was about a $200 donation. I think that monetarily, that is the single largest donation I've ever gotten. But anyway, last week or week before last, I heard some rumblings and checked and realized that it was at like 37,000, and that my teeny little sliver of Bitcoin that I had left was worth $3,500.
Jesus.
So I was like, all right, it's probably time to try. So I bought a $100 gift card for Chili's to make sure that it worked, because it had been 2 years since I had even tried cashing any of it out. That worked. So I bought a $500 Home Depot gift card Sunday before last, and that went through. And then the Monday after, I looked at it, and my equivalent, my position in dollars was higher than it had been before I bought the gift card because the price had gone up. The magic of Bitcoin. It's
Jesus.
like that. It's like that plate of beans that never gets empty.
It's the pot pie from the Chronicles of Narnia that never goes away. You can eat it until you
Yeah,
die.
yeah. So it was like cool. So anyway, so my plan was to spend half of it again, which ended up being around $1,500 in gift cards for different places, and that leaves me with 0.056 right now.
How much does it cost right now?
Last time I checked, it was trading for $47,000. I've seen people speculating that it could go to 65 or even 80. Of course, it could go back down to nothing like it did after I did my last play. So I'm feeling pretty good about, getting some fairy money out of it, because that's what it is. It's like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, and nowadays I could have actually just put it in my PayPal account because they take Bitcoin now. But it's like, where's the fun in that?
There's no fun in that. You gotta buy
I
something.
wouldn't even fucking notice it.
Yeah.
So this way, I've got like $300 at Chili's. I've got
Yeah.
250 at Applebee's. I've
Yeah.
got 500 at Home Depot, 250 at Lowe's. It's like I can
Live
go
a
have some
little.
fun shopping.
Live a little. Right? We're in a pandemic. The planet's melting, and any day we're gonna be at thermonuclear war with China.
Yeah,
Go
and
buy a buzzsaw.
exactly. Yeah, actually, thinking about a lawnmower. I've been seriously looking at the Ryobi 40-volt electric lawnmower. It's compatible with my Weed Eater's electric battery system.
Go wild.
It's
And then go get.
expensive as fuck. It's overpriced as fuck. It's like
Who
three hundred
cares?
dollars.
Who cares?
But
Fairy
I got
money.
yes, I got fairy money. So it's like okay, yeah. So anyway, so that was my recent adventure with Bitcoin, and it's so now my next strike point is around 80,000. If it gets that high, then I'll be gift card shopping again.
I love that. I love how my mind, as soon as you say Bitcoin in my mind, I'm like, Roger, how come you're not holding on to it? But then I realized there's no fun. Listen, if you owned 100 Bitcoin, I could see where it'd be like, hey, just retire. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
you've got,
shit.
but you've got 100th or a 100th of a bit or 10th, whatever the fuck it is.
A little sliver. It's
Yeah,
right,
just play with it.
right now. It's about a 20th of a Bitcoin I
It's
have
small
left.
enough to play the world's tiniest violin. So just
Yeah.
play yourself a
Well,
happy
and
song.
the thing is, that I told people after I got the donations that I really liked it because I would never ever actually spend actual money buying Bitcoin.
Yeah,
That is not a thing I would ever do.
yeah,
But if the alternative is not getting anything at all, it's like,
yeah.
well, we want to donate to you, but we're not going to do it in PayPal,
Then
and we're
yeah,
not going to send.
take some. Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, sure, okay. It's free Bitcoin, so whatever. So I got some free Bitcoin,
Whoa.
and that was fun because that gave me a reason to look at the price and have an interest in the
Yeah.
whole story behind it and all. It's
What was historical? I gotta find. What was it in? I need to find it in June 2016. That's when I owned it.
that would have been right before it inflated, I think.
Well, it's whatever. I'm not gonna figure it out. I cannot multitask. I cannot use my phone while doing a podcast. It becomes like rocket science.
Go to a web browser and put go to Google and put Bitcoin price in, and it should come right up to a nice little thing. It'll be what you'll see at first as a 1 day summary, but you'll see they'll have a links for 1 year, 5 day, it's like and then you like 5 years, one of the things that you can click.
One Bitcoin equals $47,595 right now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Where's the date? Where's the history? I need a historical calculator. value calculator history, Bitcoin. There we go. Here we go. Okay, starting date. It was June 2016. It was like June. I think it was June 20th to right now.
Been very volatile, so yeah, the exact date kind of matters.
Starting investment was okay. Calculate. Well, that's depressing. Jesus. So I bought $500 of Bitcoin in June of 2016 so that I could order $500 of LSD from Canada. That would be worth $31,985. You know what? That trip on LSD made me realize how depressed I was and that I needed to move home because otherwise I was probably going to be committing suicide before the end of the year.
Well, then I would say it was probably worth $31,000 to you.
Yeah, but $31,000 is also a lot of money. I don't know. On one hand, it's like, Tommy, you wouldn't be alive to enjoy it. And on the other hand, it's like, it's 31,000.
Yeah. Well,
but you know what? It was some good 1P LSD from Lysergy Labs in Canada, which I think they were shut down because some of their chemicals were killing kids.
Ooh.
But I didn't. No. I tripped dick on a waterbed for 14 hours.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? Fairy money. Money. I bought LSD. You're gonna buy a lawnmower. Tomatoes.
Hey. I've never done acid, but I did meet Timothy Leary in person once.
That's really cool. Really? When did you meet him?
Actually,
that should be a podcast.
Yeah. Because that goes back to our New Age days.
Yeah.
I should probably take some pictures of some shit to share with you.
Please do. That would be a badass podcast.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, there was a big New Age festival in Kenner, Louisiana that we did, and Larry was there, and we met him, and he hugged our crystal.
That's badass.
Our quartz crystal.
Yeah, turn on, tune in, drop out. Yeah.
So yeah, and he was a really cool guy. I mean, he was a
legend. He took the test at the prison he was incarcerated in, and took the test. The personality trait test. I don't know if you know this. He took the personality trait test at the prison he was in, and they get it. The psych team gets it. The ward gets it, and you're on this chart of how likely are you to try to escape? How likely are you to stab someone? It's this whole how violent are you, right? It's all these abstract questions, and he took it, and he was labeled as the least dangerous person. And least likely to try to escape. Well, as we know, Leary escaped.
Of course.
Leary escaped. Well, because what we now know is that test, Leary created it 10 years prior at Harvard. So he was just like,
he knew how to get
exactly what to write. And he was just, they were like, oh, this guy's a monk on morphine. And Leary's like, you dumb fucks.
Yes, he was extremely intelligent. And you could sense that just being around him. Even when he was being kind of woo, and it's like, ooh, crystal. It's like, I have an 80-pound quartz crystal that we had set up, and
that's awesome.
He
just hugged it. Do you have a picture of it?
I don't have a picture of Leary hugging it, but I could get a picture of the crystal. That's I don't actually have a picture of the crystal at the moment, but it's in the other room, so that's not hard to arrange.
When this podcast becomes the next Rogan in my studio, I would like your 80-pound crystal. I don't know what right I have to request your property. I realized as I was saying that, I was like, it's kind of a douche thing to say. Roger, I request your crystal. Bring it to my kingdom.
I can rent it to you for a reasonable sum.
You know what? We'll create Tom Coin. It'll be TPC it'll be TPC podcast coin. There'll be a finite amount. It will be based on the molecular structure of the crystal, and you'll have to mine it. We'll have to I'm just talking gibberish now. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. We should create. You know, my friend Jack works in like cryptocurrency, and he's actually made, I think, a decent amount of money.
Oh, there's people who do cryptocurrency who've made a fuck ton of money, and then there's the rest of us.
Yeah,
It's like
Jack's a
I'm weird because I'm in the middle. It's like
you were
I've
yeah
actually
you were given.
yeah, I was given a teeny little sliver of Bitcoin, and as I said, I would never have actually invested money in
Mhm.
it, but
Again, I bought it purely because it was the only way that Lysergy would take
it's a
payment.
medium of exchange.
I just wanted acid.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I've done a couple of semi-sketchy transactions using my little
Yeah.
sliver of Bitcoin too. Um, Not acid though. That's
Man, I spent
they
500. I remember I spent $500 because I wanted 1p LSD AL no AL 1p LSD AL dash LAD
you have the good stuff.
LSD 25. No, they're all just derivatives. That's how you got around the law. And then 4 ACO DMT, which is the precursor to psilocin. Psilocin is what psilocybin is
Hmm.
metabolized into. So it was the equivalent of psychedelic mushrooms. And I got the dosing wrong on that. And I actually wrote a whole story about it where 25 milligrams was the equivalent to an eighth of dried cubensis mushrooms, which is a good trip. A 5 grams is what Terence McKenna called a heroic trip. It's where you go in and you learn about yourself.
The hard way.
Yeah. Well, I took 250 milligrams, which is the equivalent of a little over an ounce. So about 30 grams. 5 grams is a heroic dose. I took 30.
And you're still alive.
Well, an hour before that, I took a big hit of Ram Dass, Timothy Leary's good friend from Harvard. They both got fired for the Harvard LSD experiments. He said that a big dose, said a good dose of LSD was 200, a groovy time was 250, a lightning, he called white lightning, was when you took 315 micrograms. I took 1,250 micrograms 2 hours prior to the 250 milligrams.
And like I said, you're still alive.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it in hindsight, and I'm like, that was I should have been just another like number. Boy dies, Athens, Georgia, taking Dergs from Canada.
No,
Jeez,
but you learned something, didn't you?
I
I
did.
mean,
And
obviously you're doing something different now.
well, on a very serious note, no, I went in and I realized that I really was not going to a good place, and I kind of examined myself in that inner cavern of the soul, and I was like, hey. I was like, the writing's on the wall. It's been a couple years in the making, but you're gradually going downhill. And it's probably not that far off. It's probably, I said, my mind was just very clear. It was very objective. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't this crying, come to Jesus. It was just this very matter of fact. Like, look, you ever seen the movie Minority Report?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he's like, how can precognition, how can that be a crime? And he's like, well, they were going to do it. And they're like, well, how can you say that? And he takes a bowling ball and he rolls it across the table and it flies off and the guy grabs it. And he goes, why'd you grab it? And he said, it was going to hit the floor. And he goes, it was going to hit the floor. How'd you know it was gonna? And he was like, well, okay. It was coming. I saw it. I was like, look, it is what it is. And it's, a little over 2 years prior, my brother had committed suicide. And I was like, hey, it's just this very, again, it wasn't emotional. It was just a very, like, my soul sat down with me and was like, hey, it's kind of like lighting the cigarette. And it was like, so you probably don't have a whole lot of time left here if you keep going down this road. You're gaining weight. You don't practice basic hygiene. You're angry at everyone. You're doing a ton of drugs. Not today in particular, which you are, but in general, and not the fun ones. The you're hiding from something drugs, right? A lot of pills, a lot of drinking, a lot of cough syrup, a lot of Xanax, a lot of weed, a lot of alcohol, a lot of nicotine, a lot of everything, a lot of caffeine, a lot of Adderall, a lot of Vyvanse, a lot of
I'm
everything.
laughing, but it's only because you're doing like this routine, like
Hunter S. Thompson. It's just like,
yeah.
yeah. And I think that's what Duncan Trussell said. He goes, whenever you get into a point in your life where you're doing a lot of drugs, there's two bad things. There's two bad markers, two canaries. The first is realizing that you're doing a lot of drugs. The second is when your mind goes, well, Hunter S. Thompson did a lot of drugs. He goes, when you find yourself comparing yourself to Hunter S. Thompson, guess what? You're not Hunter S. Thompson. And even if you are trying to compare yourself to him, which you shouldn't because you're not as talented as him, he shot himself too. So it's like, so it was, no, I mean, I can look back on it and smile because I moved home. I did therapy. I did OCD therapy. Got got out a lot of the demons. I'm sober. Have lost about half the weight. I've still got some chubby that needs to go. The podcast is working, right? I found an investor. Hopefully, I should be moving out before the summer, right? I think I've probably only got about 3 months left max in here, and I'm very excited about that. I can laugh because like life is like working out now. I should be just like another tattoo on my brother because I have my brother's initials tattooed on my shoulder. Me and my 3 brothers all have John's initials. I should just be another set of initials under those. Like I was not going to a good place, and it's not some idyllic. I was suicidal. No, I mean like owned the rifle, was like ready to go, and so I don't know. But then on the other hand, 31,000 is a lot of money, so it's it's
But you can't spend it if you're
story,
dead.
but I know, but I mean, at the same time, it's 500 Bitcoin. It's $500 in Bitcoin. It's like I get what you're saying,
It
but
was $500 in Bitcoin back in 2016. Did you say?
June
Yeah.
20th, 2016. Because I remember
Yeah.
I bought the LSD and I was like, man, I hope it gets here because I was like, I need some soul searching because I was in a bad place. And I remember the shipping said 4 to 6 weeks and it got there in 3 days. And I was like, that's impressive. And I always remember that. It got there in
It's the
3 days.
modern world.
Yeah, it got there in 3 days. And I remember because I took it on June 23rd, which it doesn't stick out for any particular reason, but that memory is burned in my mind. It was June 23rd.
623.
Yep, 623, which is a month before my brother's birthday, John, the one who did commit suicide.
Oh.
His birthday is July 23rd. So I always kind of remember that date. 6/23/16 is when I realized, hey, I actually wrote a story about it. And I called the story Cliff, CLYF. And it's because while peaking, or not quite peaking, because when I was peaking, I couldn't move. But I remember what occurred to me is that at the base of all reality, all choices stand at the same crossroads, the same fork in the road. And it's fear or love. Are you going to do this because you're scared of something, or are you going to do this because you love something? That's obviously a very hippie 70s, right?
Well, I
Simplification.
grew up in the 70s, so
Right.
it's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is it's a very oversimplification. Not everything is love. Sometimes you have to pay the bill. Sometimes you need health insurance. Sometimes there's a pandemic, right?
But sometimes what you need is love.
But sometimes, right, you do have, because prior to all this, prior to John's suicide in 2014 was me in 2013, and I wanted to be a doctor out of fear. I was very scared of not having of job security, of not being respected. Versus love was like, man, I really like just talking. Maybe I should start a podcast.
Yeah, the fear thing has actually been a thing that has driven me for much of my life. It's just inexplicable, but
I think it's
yeah.
for most people, myself included, that it's again, Ram Dass, Timothy Leary's friend. He goes, I went to Harvard and I got a PhD primarily out of fear. So he starts his lecture. But so in sort of peaking, I remember coming down and I wrote down, choose love, you fuck. And I think I meant to say you fucking idiot, but I couldn't finish it. Because I couldn't write. So I painted on this thing I had, right? It was this board where you could paint with water and it would disappear after a while. which again, the beautiful transience and the symbolism of me trying to write a message while on acid that itself was disappearing.
To yourself on a disappearing message.
Right, while on acid. So I wrote "Choose love, you fuck," and that started to disappear. So naturally, I wet the pen and wrote it again, thinking it would stay this time. And I just wrote CLYF, and that was disappearing. So then I remember just grabbing my phone and taking a picture. I ended up the story I wrote, I called it Cliff, CLYF. And I wrote a full story in sort of a gonzo journalism-esque way, whereas I wrote what I remember, and then I also kind of went Hunter S. Thompson-esque and just kind of let my fiction run wild. But I wrote it, and I wrote that story when I moved home after I didn't kill myself. So I wrote that story about 2 months later. And it's like a 40-page story that I wrote on my phone. And I called it Cliff.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
On your phone.
I wrote it on my phone over the course of about 6 months. I'd write a little bit each day. And I'll put it, actually, fuck it. I'll put it in the link in the description for anybody listening.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a story I wrote, and it is the ramblings of a madman. There's not a lot of value in it, but if you want a good read, if you want to laugh your ass off, especially because
that's
you can know who wrote it.
Yeah. I mean, I've certainly had a few people say the same thing about Moby, that it's the ramblings of a madman, and they're
Good.
I can understand that way of looking at it. If you don't get it, then there's nothing there to get.
No, there's nothing but a killbot.
It starts with an assault on the reader and doesn't let up, and that was
you know what
I did.
You know what, Roger? We're gonna have to wrap this one up. I know we had a reading to do, but it's 7:30.
We're not gonna be. We're not gonna have time to do.
Okay, yeah, I have three.
I figured that.
I have 3 podcasts tomorrow. We'll do the.
My birthday is Monday.
Would you like to do a reading on your birthday?
If you got an open slot, yeah, sure. Well, now I'm working, so it would have to be. It would have to be in the evening.
Yeah. What time? Let me check.
Well, I generally get home here around 5 p.m. Central, so
6 Eastern.
Can we make it 7? Give me a little time to
booze it up.
Yeah, the episodes are shorter than the things I've read for you before.
Okay. How long? What do you think a reading will be?
Each of the stories I've read for you before is around 10,000 words. Each of the episodes of Revelation Passage is around 5, so about half as long.
Okay, so like a half hour.
Yeah, something
if
like
even.
that.
Yeah, I can do 7 on Monday. 7 Eastern. We'll do a birthday reading.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm down. Fuck yeah. Let's get started on that.
Since we didn't quite do the readings today because we were doing the censorship and all the other shit thing.
We did a censorship and killbots and sadism and Stonks and
yeah. And the 12th, a couple of days ago, was our 30th anniversary of buying this house.
Hey, yesterday. I thought you were saying I thought you were saying to me, you're like, Tommy, it's our 30th anniversary. I'm like, Roger, I'm only 30. How long have I known you?
Yeah. So we bought this house right around the time you were busy being born.
Very true, right? Because I'm 30.
Yeah.
I was born
August
7th. Yeah. So it's before that.
Yeah, it was February 12th, 1991. We closed on this house.
Oh, it's 2021 now. Fuck. Yeah, I was born August 7th, 1990.
Okay, so you were a year old when
I was a year old. I was learning how to talk and getting ready to start podcasting.
Yeah, when we bought this house. So yeah, that was when we got shot at and all that. And
I was born into George H.W. Bush. It's fitting that I was born into the president who used to be the head of the CIA.
Oh yeah, he has all kinds of. I mean, yes, you were born in this the
Uh,
conspiracy presidency.
and don't forget, on the day or the night before, who was the guy that tried to kill Reagan? Hinckley?
Yeah.
Don't forget that the night before that happened, the Bush family was having dinner with the Hinckley family. Because of all
Hmm.
the families in America, those two happen to be friends.
Right.
And,
Yeah, it was
and,
total
and who would
coincidence.
benefit from one of the Hinckleys murdering the president? I don't know. It's not like George Bush would, be escalated to the presidency. But hey, that's just another coincidence, right?
Total
Right? Like
coincidence.
James Jesus
Yeah.
Angleton opening a case file on Lee Harvey Oswald in
I
19.
lived through that. You know, you got to remember, I actually watched the newscasts in real time as they were
the
trying to dance around
the
this
fact that Hinckley.
rather obvious fact that there was a problem here. And yeah, so that, you
Hey,
know, the
don't forget James Jesus Angleton, the head of CIA counterintelligence, opened up a file on Lee Harvey Oswald. Well, that makes sense, right? That he would open a file. Oh, wait, in 1959. It's a little hairy.
so yeah, but yeah, so this is, this is my big month. Then of course my birthday is Lupercalia, which is the Roman holiday which the Christians ripped off to create Valentine's Day, because there never was a Saint Valentine. There's no record that any such saint ever
Are you
existed.
telling me that this whole thing's been fabricated just to sell shit?
Oh yeah. That's every fucking Christian holiday is. It's like Easter, bunny rabbits, eggs,
Hey, that's right out of the Bible.
Christmas,
The Easter bunny
Christmas,
came and handed out chocolate. That's in the Bible.
Christmas, evergreen trees, ornaments, gift giving. That's, well, actually, you can almost make a case for gift giving because of the three wise men coming. But evergreen trees? No, that was,
That
the
was a Roman.
Germans
Yeah,
holiday,
yeah,
the
that was
German solstice holiday.
uh-huh. Pagan holiday,
That,
right?
yes, they were
Yeah.
all pagan holidays.
Yeah. But then even
Yeah,
then, if you go back to the German one, that one was based on like an ancient sun god worshiping one, right? Because it goes
yeah,
down and dips down for 3 days and then rises. The resurrection is the sun rising
yeah.
after it.
Well, yes. There's all these resurrection things. There's all these flood things. There's all,
It's all the
it's like,
same. So what you're saying is we should all praise Moloch and Ra, the sun god, right?
works just as well as anything else.
I mean, why not? One time when I did acid, I actually was like trying to build a fire in my backyard, and
Oh, yes.
on acid, but I had to build a fire pit because I was at least I only took like 100 milligrams that time, micrograms, excuse me. That's an important distinction. So,
Yes.
yeah, that is a distinction between building a fire pit and living in a Pink Floyd video for a decade. It was, but I went in and I was like, well, I was coherent, and it was Georgia, and it was the summer, so perhaps not the smartest time to build a fire. But I was like, I did want to build a fire, so I went into my backyard and I was like, well, shit, I should probably build a fire pit first. Again, not something you should probably do on acid. That's more of like a cup of coffee and a Gatorade day. But I was on LSD on my hands and knees, clearly losing my mind. This is a couple months prior to the big trip. And I remember I had a rock, and I was, because it was that hard Georgia clay. And I remember
I'm familiar with it.
I got so lost in the process of carving out like a circle, just, because the acid, that I was like, it was just so meditative. I was just using this rock, this very like primitive thing, right? Moving clay with a rock. And I was out there, and like the sun's dancing through the trees as I'm just digging this semicircle, long having forgotten what I was doing, just digging this semicircle, watching my fingers and just like really tapping in with the ancient caveman. And I remember realizing just how much sense it made to praise the sun. It's the only thing that it's consistent. It's there every day for us. It always provides warmth. It always drives away the rain. It causes the rain. He gives all energy to this life. It truly dawned on me there, my pupils the size of quarters, digging in mud as a 23-year-old, who, mind you, a med school had accepted to be a doctor, digging in mud, and it dawned
Mention
on
that
me.
once or twice.
Yeah, I have to, right? It's the only way I can stay sane. Digging in this clay that I realized that I was like, oh, you know what? Praising Ra makes a lot of sense.
Mhm. But you also realize that the after Mopey, the second biggest thing I ever wrote was Passages in the Void, which is about worlds being colonized that don't have suns
That's very true.
because suns are dangerous.
You know, Roger, I just told this long story, and you just took a big shit on it. You just pulled your
I
drawers
tend to
down.
do that.
You just
That's,
pulled
I
your
mean,
drawers
it's
down
like,
and dropped a big shit. But you know what? Joke's on you. You've been associated with this podcast for about almost a year now. So I'm going to send these videos to the Central Planning Committee. And the dictators are going to, you're going to be in the same train car as me, motherfucker.
oh, I expect it. That's, you know, it's like,
Two quick notes. Actually, we should push this for 17 more minutes because we're coming up on a 3-hour podcast. And I haven't done one in a while. Oh, wait, what the fuck? No, it's only at 2. Never mind. It's only at 2.5 hours. I guess we didn't start at 5 on the nose. So never mind. We won't do that. But two things. I do remember I started writing Cliff, my 40-page book about doing all these drugs right after I read Mopey, because I was so inspired by the no holds barred of your writing that actually inspired me. And not that my work went on to become some great thing. I think like 7 people have read it, but it did inspire me to write that because I was like, oh, this is a no holds barred kind of story.
well, that's the thing that keeps coming up is that no one would publish a thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you wanted to read a thing like that, it wasn't available. And what I found since is that that's true of other things. There's holes in the landscape of
creative sphere.
The greatest, yes, good word for it. There's holes where the platforms won't support things that are there. And if you're looking for the things that are in that hole, then you keep wondering, why is nobody writing this? And it's not because nobody's writing it, it's because nobody will publish and distribute it. And there was a golden age of about 10 years from the mid 90s to the mid aughts when on the internet pretty much almost anything went. And the shutdown of insects was the beginning of the end of that. And it's not that I like insects or their product that much. It's that what they were doing was transgressive. It was desired by people. It was the sort of thing. It was deliberately. There was an attempt made to deliberately censor it, and in that moment they won.
Mm-hmm.
But that moment in which they won has kind of passed, and we're in a new moment. And I have a feeling that something else is going on as we speak.
Yes.
That is acting to destroy freedom of speech. And I don't know what it is, but I do.
I think we'll get out of it.
I just know that I hear whispers from different parts of the infoverse, as it were, that things are not available, that things have been cleansed, that things have been locked down and are not available. And that is all really familiar feeling.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
No, you're very right. There are whispers. You hear it. It's not just podcasts. It's not just conservative Twitters. It's from everything. You can just pick it up. You just recognize it, right? It's like at the very beginning of a rainstorm when you just see one raindrop on your foot and then maybe one on a windshield. Not a lot, but you look at it, you go, oh, it's
And
about to
it's
be a storm.
cloudy.
And the
It's
pressure's
clouds.
and the
The
pressure's
clouds are dark.
the pressure's dropping,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have some people going, "Ha, fuck them. They should be getting wet. They're out there in the road." And it's like, I think a storm's coming, and I don't think any of us are safe. And that was the point of yesterday's episode was, hey, we're going to a place where we're going to long for the days of just bickering left and right.
Yeah.
It's not good for anybody. It never is. And just like I got taken advantage of, no, I'm an adult. I went there on the sticks at my own volition, but I feel like it was right. And just like those people in BLM and Antifa, I feel a lot of them, it was hijacked. Good intentions were driven to hell. We're going to look back at this and we're going to realize that big tech dressed up as anti-conservatism. Everyone on the left is, I think, going to realize, I think we got taken advantage of, or who knows, maybe it flips. Big tech takes advantage of the right. They start purging people on the left, and we're all going
to big tech is neither left nor right.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Money.
That's what I'm saying, though, is they're putting on different puppet hands, and they're saying, hey, fuck the right, and everyone on the left is going, yeah. If it happens on the left, everyone on the right is going to go, good, it serves them right. But what's really happening is this machine is just moving forward, just clawing forward. And people go, hey, I feel like I was taken advantage of on the 6th. Or people go, hey, I feel like I was taken advantage of when I went and marched for the George Floyd protests. And it's not until hindsight that we can realize we got taken for a ride and someone else's agenda was pushed. And what was it? It's always the security state. It's always pushing forward. And I think that is what we're going to find, right? Is we all got taken advantage of. It's not going to be the 6th. It's going to be the 2020s. We're all going to go fuck. And you can vote that shit in, but you can't vote that stuff out.
Yeah.
Which is why I think every man, woman, and child on the planet by the year 2050 needs a thermonuclear weapon.
Nuclear weapon.
Vote Roger. Vote Kerrigan Williams. 2028. We will be running. I will be old enough. I will be old enough. I won't be old enough in 2024, but I will be old enough for the 2028 election. Roger will be as my running mate, and we have you can go check out the video.
And by that time, I'll be about the age Biden is, so I can give you some gravitas.
Yes, you'll be my wise older member, liberal, right? I'll be the young, hard-charging psychopath conservative. Republicans, right? Hey, we cover all the bases, right?
We can't lose.
We can't lose, especially with a very simple, I think, very digestible platform. And we have one very simple message, guys. A thermonuclear weapon to every man, woman, and child on this planet by the year 2050.
Yeah.
I think it's something we can all agree on.
We're updating Huey Long's prescription. Instead of a chicken in every pot, it's a thermonuclear weapon in every driveway.
Yeah, enough with these riots. Enough with this whole election fraud. I mean, guys, stop with the whole COVID. Trust me, we're going to bring a little something for everyone. It's going to be, everyone's getting a stimulus check. I don't know if that's what you want to nickname it. You can call it the stimulus check. It's going to be an arms industry unlike any other. It's going to be mental health and maternity leave. And hey, and if it doesn't work, no one's going to be here to know it didn't work.
And it'll be brighter than the sun.
Bright days lie ahead. Blindingly bright days lie ahead. Just over the horizon. Just over the event horizon of the black hole that comes from 7 billion teratons of thermonuclear death. Bright. Kerrigan Williams. Brighter days ahead. Our fucking image, instead of like the Obama O, it'll just be a sun just coming over the horizon.
Just a fireball.
We got to make it look like the North Korea propaganda. It'll just be you and I smiling as a fireball comes over the horizon. But really, it's just the blinding death of 7 billion bombs going off at the same time. And you know what? There won't be any debt after that.
No, that'll fix everything.
That'll fix everything. There won't be debt.
Once and for all.
Won't be COVID. There will be no unemployment.
Yeah. I saw a very interesting YouTube vid a few days ago that was scientific reconstruction of the Higgs impactor,
Oh
the
yeah,
KT impactor
yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
in real time,
Hmm.
and it had like 6 screens.
I saw that too.
Yeah, shows like the blast wave and the earthquake
Was,
effects and
was this
the
episode?
crater.
Was that video recently uploaded, or did we both just happen to stumble across the same video in the last week?
I think it must have been recent. I had the impression, yeah, there wasn't a lot of comments on it when I saw it,
Okay,
so
I was gonna
it
say,
was probably recent. You know, so
yeah,
yeah, we both got recommended it by YouTube's algorithm. That probably says something.
they probably realized that hey, we have a similar political campaign, and it's extinction.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I
So
saw. Yeah, the real time you can track the greenhouse gas, the nuclear winter, the
yeah, then finally goes to accelerated time to track the tsunamis as they go around the world, because
demolish.
that takes a couple of days. You know, and
Yeah,
so yeah, it was, yeah, but it was like, that was cool.
it was badass. I actually went down a whole meteor rabbit hole the other night. I was looking at tsunamis, historical tsunamis, and yeah, they think the hands down biggest one was when that when the KT impact, the Chicxulub, how the fuck you say it,
Yeah, I think
is
that's, yeah.
CHIC
I think
X
Chicxulub is actually about as close as you're going to get.
Chicxulub, yeah, CHIXCULUB. It's like the name. It sounds like if there's an Aztec DJ. But they said for that brief moment, because we have the bigger and bigger tsunamis, we have the Latoya Bay tsunami in Alaska in the 50s, where it's where part of a mountain fell into a bay, and for a
Yeah,
brief moment there was a 1,700-foot tall wave.
yeah, blew a ship up onto the, on top of
Mhm.
some trees and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah,
That's how we have the first-hand account of it.
yeah. Well, no, and for everyone, for reference, that's about it's about to the tip of the Empire State Building, the antenna
Hmm.
tip. Actually, to the top of the Freedom Tower is 1776, right? So it's about as
Hmm.
high as the Freedom Tower. So just imagine a wave like that. But there are records that they think that there was for a brief moment, maybe a brief couple hours, there was a 2 to 3 kilometer wave from the Chicxulub, a 2 to 3 kilometer high wave.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, for most of the places where it was that high had already been fried
Yeah.
by
So
the
yeah,
incandescence and all that other shit. It's like, I'm in New Orleans, so it's like, yeah, I was watching that, and it's like, okay, where I am, we got killed like in 2 seconds. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. The tsunami
within
didn't
moments
kill
of
you.
the impact, we got fried by the radiation, the luminous radiation, not, but then the tsunami, it was like, several meters high on the other side of the Atlantic, all across, I mean, everywhere.
Hmm.
You know, the entire
Planet.
the entire planet. Which is that's what it wasn't spectacularly high, like 1,000 meters anywhere outside of places where other shit wasn't even a lot worse. But if you were in like India,
Hmm.
okay, then this 10-meter tsunami comes along out of nowhere, and that's your introduction to the fact that something bad just happened.
Oh, not only that, they hypothesized that that it was supersonic, a
Yeah.
supersonic tsunami.
Well, also, yeah, they all are to a certain extent. That was, they are up to a certain radius.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah. So what happens is that it can
Yeah,
only
the
maintain
movement of
this. Yeah, the supersonic thing can only maintain to a certain radius where that energy
where
has
it's
been
dissipated.
dispelled.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, then what it happens is the normal tsunami, if you encounter in the middle of the ocean where the water is deep, is like not that high. It might
Yeah.
be a meter or two high. But then,
As
because
it
the water, so much water is in motion, as it gets to the continental shelf, it
yeah,
starts to pile up.
rides up. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Chicxulub tsunami would have been high in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, right, because it was a surface event.
Yeah. So it's so then that gets near a continental shelf and it just like yeah overwhelms everything. So you've got like basically everything on the eastern side of the Atlantic Ocean gets washed over by a 10-meter wave.
Don't they think it was? They think the crater or the asteroid, or at least the core of it, that wasn't destroyed instantly, was like 2 to 3 miles into the Earth within the first 1 second.
Yeah. I mean, if you saw the same video I did, that was one of the 6 panels was the
Yeah,
evolution of the crater, where it like what crushed in and then
it
rebounded.
kind of, yeah.
It was
It's true.
parts of it were deeper than the Marianas Trench, and then as they rebounded,
Mm.
the rim of the ejecta wave was higher than Mount Everest, and it was solid matter.
That's
You know,
insane.
yeah,
A
moving supersonically.
yeah, a tidal wave of not water, but
But
magma, dirt, rock,
yeah,
supersonic, higher than Mount Everest.
yeah, but you wouldn't have
Man,
been alive to see it because you would have been fried by the radiation blast. So,
that's
you know,
very true. Yeah, it kind of sucks we didn't have any video of it. I bet it looked great.
they've done some really nice reconstructions of it though.
Yeah,
How many movies have started with the Chicxulub impact now? I can
sure.
think of at least a couple.
Yeah. The second thing I wanted to I don't even remember the fuck I was saying earlier, but it's funny because I was texting my older brother like last April, and he's, I would say, perhaps more similar to your leanings, but like you, he and I can talk like adults because there's more to life. And I remember I was like, you know what I think would solve this? And he was like, what? And I was like, I think if we just did one term, so there was no reelection, so you just went in swinging, and then you were out. And he was like, fuck, I could go with that. And I was like, but you know what would really solve it? And he was like, what? And I was like, super intelligent AI. And he was like, you know what? I just had a discussion with my friend last night. We were talking about super intelligent AI running the world. And I was like, fuck, there used to be a book I read, Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect. And I remember I said, I'm going to try to find this author for my podcast. And he was like, good luck. Now here Roger and I are talking about our global campaign for thermonuclear holocaust. A friendship born in hell.
It's so much more benign than the Chicxulub impact.
It is. But we'll do it with a
Unless
smile.
everyone hits the button at the same time, then it might actually be close.
It, it might be 7 billion times 50 megaton times 100 megatons. That might get close to the Chicxulub. Chicxulub Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Kerrigan Williams. 2020, whatever. There won't be a calendar after this. The end of the Gregorian calendar. 2028 till whatever, the heat death.
Yeah. The length of the day will change anyway, and
the biggest moment in political history. There'll be shockwaves felt forever. This is the true people's revolution. We're going to put an end to climate change once and for all by changing it all permanently.
yeah.
We're getting rid of climate change because there's going to be no more climate. There's going to be no more.
Turn into a desert.
This is, you know what? Our vaccine. This is our vaccine for the pandemic.
No, it's Mars 2050. We'll turn Earth into Mars, so we won't have to go there.
We're saving Elon all the money. Hey, Elon, come aboard Kerrigan Williams. We got. I love your ingenuity. We're not even going to go to Mars. We're just going to turn this.
Bring Mars here.
We're just bringing it here. And yeah, save yourself some money. Get ahead of the curve. Start building nukes now, because the War Powers Defense Act that Roger and I are going to use when I'm president is we're seizing control of your assets anyway to start building nukes. Well, for anybody still listening to this podcast, I applaud you. Roger and I went off into the weeds about an hour ago, and now we are gone. We are off the map. There's no Google Maps where we are. And but Roger, I'll see you.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this bitch up. Roger, I'll put your book, The Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect, sticking in the description or sticking in the comment description. I'll also put the Google Drive link to my shitty story I wrote, Cliff. And who knows, Roger? Maybe one day in the future I'll do a reading. And wild card.
Cool.
A wild card.
Hey.
And but
so
yeah, let's wrap this bitch up, Roger.
And so I will be seeing you what?
Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
I balance my glasses like this. And again, if Roger and I are not here, it's because the Gestapo has taken us for our wrong think.
Yes.
So
and that will also be my birthday. So happy Lupercalia in advance.
Yeah. And
you do know that the 15th of February is Lupercalia, right? No, you don't.
Now I do.
It's the Roman holiday that the Christians ripped off in order to create St. Valentine's Day, because there is no St. Valentine.
St. Valentine raped me.
St. Valentine doesn't exist.
St. Valentine raped me, and until anyone can provide evidence he didn't, I say he did, and therefore he should be canceled.
But
hashtag me too.
On Lupercalia, crowds of teenagers would run naked down the streets of Rome, basically pairing up randomly, the males whipping the females because that was considered a purifying ritual. And
Jesus.
Yeah.
Man.
There's a description of it. There's a couple of other details I don't quite remember, but I remember putting a description of it once on a site that I used to be a member of, and it's like I had a couple of people going, "Bring back Lupercalia!"
I say Lupercalia sounds lit, man.
Yeah,
running around naked, whipping hose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, man,
that was considered, and they would do things like one of the rituals they had was they would put everybody's name in a bowl, and the males in one, females in one. They would draw pairs, and it's like, all right, you two.
Yeah,
over there.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, Lupercalia sounds awesome.
Well, that's the Romans for you.
Yeah.
They could do a celebration.
They knew how to burn down an empire.
Yeah.
Right? Shit, here we are bitching about politics and censorship. Really, we should be in the baths just fucking each other.
Well, not you and me.
Not you and me. Well, the Romans would have. If we were Romans,
yeah,
well, yeah. It would have been you and me. I would have been a little bit too old for your taste. Not you, Roger. I mean the Romans.
Oh, I don't know. It's like you realize the age difference between you and me is about the same as between me and my dad.
So you're trying to tell me you're my dad?
No,
I think you just told me that. And as your son, I would like my share of your Bitcoin. That's some 4D chess. Man, can you imagine Lupercalia right now? Can you imagine with the cancel culture today, a bunch of guys running through the streets naked, whipping women?
Guys and girls. It was a group.
Oh, this wasn't a gender issue. This was just all out.
Oh, it was all out.
Dicks and
titties. It was a societal thing. It was like
that's amazing.
Any young person, all young people.
That's awesome. Fucking carpe diem, man.
Yeah, and it's like for the whole thing with the whip, was like the girls actually that they were told that they wanted it because that's what gets rid of the bad spirits that make you infertile. It was a fertility ritual. Now I don't know about the perverts that decided that was
I don't know about the
purifying ritual, but the kids took it up.
Yeah, I don't know about the peer-reviewed research that they did if it was physiologically backed. No, whip that bitch, and she'll put out.
Yeah,
but
but no, they were all into it. It was.
That would be a badass episode, Roger, for you to teach us about Lupercalia.
Yeah, I would have to go back. There's one account by one of the scholars whose writing survives describing it. I would have to go back and look that up to make sure I get the details right. But yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be a very good. I mean, but seriously, no, you do take the professor role very good when you come on and teach. That sounds like an interesting episode. That and a Timothy Leary episode. We got two right there.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I personally met Timothy Leary.
I know, that's the point.
Yeah.
We can create Quartz Coin, the new cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency.
Well, it couldn't be an even more joke than Dogecoin, and that's
Look at
actually,
that. The richest man in the world tweeted about it last week. So
it's listed, yeah, on
so fucking.
exchanges.
You know what? I don't think anything's off the table. Roger, let's wrap. Man, I've really put this fucking microphone stand through the works today. But I like it.
Somebody do calisthenics off of it.
But you know what? I've never really used it aside from just this thing right here. So it's actually kind of fun to see what this bitch can do. It's got some movement to it. It's got some range.
Yeah, about half the time you kind of had your face up,
Yeah,
sort of hidden by it.
Yeah, no,
I had this arranged so that when you with mine on the lamp stand, so that I had it about right, so it was about perfect.
Yeah.
And then while I was testing it, I did the test with Zoom, and it was like 1, 2, 3. And then I realized I didn't have the USB cable plugged in. And I realized it was these things, and it was like didn't sound all that bad.
Yeah.
So what do you think about because these are the headphones that I bought to do your podcast, so it wouldn't look like I had a bowling ball over each ear.
I don't think they're bad at all, man.
So yeah, and it does eliminate the problem of having and away from the mic. I mean, because I'm not actually doing like a reading here that's going to be recorded for.
I would say for the readings, the microphone is good.
Oh yeah, that's what it was purchased for. But for the podcasts, this might be good enough.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah, I'm thinking basically it's what these things were, except it's not 12 years old and it works better. So yeah. But it's your show, so it's like whatever you want.
Just whatever you want, man. Microphone's good for the readings, but other than that, I don't think there's the need just because it's a bitch. It's just you got to kind of lean in. With this one, I'm just having fun, just kind of moving it around.
Yeah,
lazy I can get.
You got the boss stand for it and everything. It's like
woo. I've got it connected to a.
I got a fucking lamp stand, so so I can make it work. It's sort of hacked, but I didn't even realize these things had a microphone. Apparently all headphones have microphones now.
Hey man, I'm as retarded as you. I don't know. I've got this microphone that I'm trying to work with. I got it attached to a bedside table, and I have it. The bedside table's filled with water bottles to count as a counterweight. It's working. But Roger, let's wrap this bitch up.
All right.
This has been what? Oh, hey, we ended up breaking 3 hours. 3 hours and 2 minutes. I haven't done that in months. So,
and we didn't even do a reading.
We didn't even do a reading. What should be the name of this podcast? I think it should be Censorship, Sadism.
We're all over the map, man.
We need another S. Stocks. Censorship, Sadism, and Stocks.
Bitcoin.
Right? Yeah, because Stocks, that kind of falls into it, right? 3 S's, right? That's some good alliteration.
I know. We basically free ranged for 3 hours. We're all over the map.
Oh, I know. And that's why I just try to grab like a title that it's like kind of covers most of it. Censorship, Stocks.
I would say censorship and then
No. That's how I always do it in order. I just do commas. Like so it'd just be censorship. We didn't really talk about like sadism a whole lot. We didn't talk about incest a whole lot. We did talk about stocks. Maybe psychedelics. I don't know.
We didn't talk about anything a whole lot. We were kind of all over the map.
Kind of. I'd just say it's censorship, really.
I'd say censorship and more.
Censorship and killbots. Censorship. Did you see that? Fucking psycho. Censorship and Wally. Should we just make up a name?
Nuclear is obsolete.
Censorship. Nuclear. Yeah, just censorship. Because when I do these long episodes, I like to try to come up with a title that's like somewhat encompassing.
Summarizes it. Yeah, but
what were the big ones we hit? Censorship.
Well, it started with censorship, and then it just went all over the map.
We kind of went with stocks. I think we could say Bitcoin is stocks. I'd just say censorship and Bitcoin. Right?
Censorship, Bitcoin, and more.
Censorship, Bitcoin.
I think at some point you just got to go and more, because we,
or should I just say just a whole lot of fucking shit?
Yeah.
Just a whole lot of fucking shit. Should that be the name of it?
Maybe so.
Just a whole lot of fucking shit.
Whole lot of fucking shit. Yes.
Okay, that's gonna be the name of it. A whole lot of fucking shit. All right, everybody. We'll see you back on Monday with Roger. And this is a 3-hour episode, man. I hope my little computer can. It's on its last leg, man. It's gonna process this and just turn into a black hole. It's
you can always fry an egg on it.
Roger the Optimist. Kerrigan Williams, a bright future ahead. A very bright future.
A very bright future.
A very bright future.
Brighter than the sun.
Brighter than the sun. It's not uranium, it's ouranium. All right, Roger, I'll text you, man. I'm going to go eat some food. I'm starving.
All right. See you, Tommy.
All right, buddy.